Wake up and smile and believe that it's going to be a great day, and you just might have a great day. Hello, welcome to the AM show. Across Ghana's 16 regions on the Joy News channel, around the world on myjoyonline.com, on Facebook, on X Spaces, and on YouTube. This is the best breakfast show on the block, the AM show. And I do this with Benjamin Akaku, and my name is Sweetie Abochi. So let me tell you what we have in store for you this morning. Like we always do, we start with the AM news. And we'll bring you the latest updates on all the stories in and around the country. After that, we get into a news review. But before the news review, we bring you AM Sports. If you've been following us for a while, you know that these days, AM Sports comes right after the AM news. And so after that, then we get into a news review segment. So today we have Dr. Kwame Asante joining us. He is a political scientist and the head for Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. We'll also have Dr. Gabriel Mohammed. He's a senior lecturer at University of Ghana Business School, as well as Pap Kwesi Eduafola Beidou. He's also a doctor, and he's a development analyst. Three gentlemen joining us to review the newspapers and how the stories in there resonate with you and I. And then we get into our big stories. We have two main big stories. First, we'll start from Chairman Wontumi, the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NPP, who has been rushed to the hospital after some intense interrogation. That story was developing all night. And today we'll bring you the fallout of that and all the nitty-gritty of that. And then we'll also look at the majority leader, Mahama Yariga, who's announced some preparations to introduce a comprehensive set of rules to govern the process of appointing judges or removing judges in Ghana's judiciary. These and many, many more stories coming your way this morning on the AM show. You don't want to miss it. And you are invited to join us with your comments and your thoughts across all social media platforms. We are Joy News on TV. And a gentle reminder that the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, bringing you quality housing at affordable prices with flexible payment options. Stick and stay with us. First item on our order this morning, the AM news, coming right up. Folks, welcome to the AM News. My name is Sweetie Abochi. Details now. The government is preparing to legislate new rules to guide the removal of Supreme Court and other Superior Court judges. The announcement was made by the majority leader, Mahama Yariga, on the floor, and it comes at the back of the Chief Justice's Gertrude Torkornoo's current locked processes seeking to remove her. Now, the process has so far been criticized by the opposition NPP, which says it is simply an attempt by the NDC to unfairly remove the Chief Justice. Our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, reports.
The process currently underway to remove Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo continue to receive criticism from Parliament, especially from members on the NPP minority side. Today on the floor, Deputy Minority Leader Patricia PJ descended on President John Mahama and the NDC, who she accused of having a preconceived agenda to remove the Chief Justice.
Audacious attempt by the presidency to undermine judicial independence have reached dangerous proportions. The nation watched in disbelief as the executive launched brazen efforts to remove the Chief Justice of the Republic.
Before Ota for Vincent Ekwasafoa, who had actually gone to the Supreme Court to stop the entire process, says the latest affidavit deposed to by the Chief Justice herself in a matter she has filed before the Supreme Court clearly backs her proposition up that the effort underway is simply to unjustifiably remove her from office.
I don't see why a Chief Justice will appear before a committee and he will be searched like a petty criminal. Meanwhile, the lawyers who are representing the petitioners are not searched. It cannot be a fair procedure. It cannot be a fair treatment.
Meanwhile, the government says it is now introducing new measures to guard the process to remove the Chief Justice and other persons who serve on the Superior Court of Judicature. According to Mahama Yariga, the majority leader who announced this on the floor, this is expected to streamline the process that is currently outlined for in the Constitution.
The President is committed to legislative clarity with transparency when it comes to the constitutional mechanics of the removal of justices of the superior courts.
While the Supreme Court is yet to decide on the Chief Justice's injunction application, the process is currently ongoing. The minority say this process must be stopped because it's clearly an attempt to subdue the judiciary and pack the courts with NDC loyalists. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly says it is taking concrete steps with the Ghana Police Service to ensure commercial drivers comply with the recent 15% transport fare reduction. This follows widespread reports that some drivers continue to charge the old fares, defying the directive by the Transport Union. KMA's head of transport, Randy Wilson, says enforcement is already underway in collaboration with the police.
The head of the Transport Department at the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, Randy Wilson, says a strict enforcement exercise by the police has begun in Kumasi to ensure commercial drivers reduce the fares by the agreed 15%. Joy News' checks indicate there are no visible police officers on the roads for the exercise, but Mr. Wilson insists the police will be out to instill compliance.
That is what the mayor communicated to us, that the police will be out today, starting today, to ensure that every driver is able to reduce the fare that they charge now by the agreed 15% with the Ministry of Transport.
Some commuters have had to challenge drivers and their mates on their failure to reduce fares. Randy Wilson observed complaints are already coming in from commuters who claim they are being overcharged despite the new directive.
There's a phone number that we give out, and there are a lot of people who are calling to complain about they being charged beyond what has been agreed. And we are compiling all those and make it available to the police MTTD, and we are hoping that within the next 2-3 days, all these drivers will be fished out and then the appropriate punishment meted out to them.
The public has been urged to report defaulting drivers directly to the KMA.
If anybody is charged beyond the 15% reduction, please compile, just take your phone, take the vehicle number, give us the route you are working on, and then add the fare that you are charged, and send it to the numbers, and then appropriate actions will be taken against these recalcitrant drivers.
The KMS says it remains committed to ensuring passengers are not shortchanged and drivers are held accountable. Reporting for Joy News, Emanuela Irabna Akwe, Kumasi.
In other stories, President John Mahama says recent gains by the cedi have helped the country reduce its total debt burden by almost 150 billion Ghana cedis. He says if that trajectory continues, the target of reaching 55 to 58% debt sustainability by 2028 will be reached by the end of this year. Speaking during a presidential session at the 60th annual meeting of the African Development Bank and the 51st annual meeting of the African Development Fund in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, he credited the debt reduction to key interventions rolled out by his government over the past 5 months. He says his government is also focused on boosting domestic revenue, fighting corruption, cutting wasteful government expenditure, and ensuring better accountability in governance. Here's more.
With our bilateral creditors, and therefore it brought, one, the quantum of debt down, that's the size, but it also stretched out the repayment of the debt. That brought us down to about 75, 76% debt to GDP. Since then, we're left with just 3% of the debt. We've covered 97%. It's left with the commercial creditors who hold just about 3% of the debt. And once we do that, then it means that the whole debt restructuring has been completed. But like I said when I spoke at first, I said we need to put any credit that we take or any debt that we take into the most productive parts of our economy in providing infrastructure so that you can have a rate of return on debt. You must do smart borrowing, taking debt where you can create debt escrows so that the income for which you invested the credit can go to repay. For instance, expressways that are tolled, where the toll revenues are escrowed so that they go to pay the expressway in 25 years or so. I think that these are the kinds of things that we should do. There are many examples. For instance, we built a first-class port, and that, again, did not sit on our public debt. We made our Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority and their partners, Meridian Port Services, build the ports, which cost us about $1 billion, and that port is paying for itself, and that debt does not sit on our books. We built a new airport terminal we call Terminal 3, and again, we built it on the balance sheet of the Ghana Airports Company Limited. And so that project is paying for itself without sitting on our public debt. And so these are some of the innovative ideas that we need to introduce in order that our debts continue to be sustainable. But also, increasingly, one of the push factors for the debt is the strength of the value of the local currency. Our debt continued to multiply because the cedi continued to grow weaker. And so you needed more cedis. Because our public debt is stated in cedis, the weaker the cedi becomes against the foreign currencies, the higher it pushes up your debt. Fortunately, some measures we put in place have recently begun to show results, and the cedi has been strengthening. And so we've reduced our total debt over the last 5 months by almost 150 billion cedis, which is very significant.
President Mahama there, and he also talked about the progress made in the local processing of Ghana's cocoa. He says the country has now reached about 40% in domestic cocoa processing and expressed optimism that Ghana could match or surpass Côte d'Ivoire's 50% processing benchmark within the next 4 to 5 years.
Sometimes you notice that the world economic order is rigged against Africa. We can increase processing overnight, but you have non-tariff barriers in exporting into some of the markets. Unless they bring a processor from outside, from Europe, who comes and sets up a processing plant and gets all the regulatory things in place. An indigenous person setting up a processing plant sometimes has a very big difficulty exporting finished products into the EU market and into the American market. But I must say that we've made progress from a low of about 25% processed cocoa. Ghana has risen to about 40%, and I know Côte d'Ivoire is ahead of us. Côte d'Ivoire has done 50%, which is comfortable. And so 50% of Côte d'Ivoire's cocoa is processed domestically. Ghana is at 40%. We hope that over the next 4 or 5 years, we'll reach the stage of Côte d'Ivoire at 50% and push even further.
Thank you very much, President Mahama. We'll go next to Vice President Mpango.
Moving on, data in Ghana shows that 1 out of every adult is hypertensive, a condition with a high frequency between 27% and 34%. On World Hypertension Day, the Central Regional Health Directorate launched, quote, the Measure 1 Million campaign to commemorate the day. Now, according to the Health Directorate, the campaign is a public health revolution that will encourage screening, save lives, and enhance productivity. At the launch of the campaign at the Ebu-Adunkwa District Hospital, the Deputy Administrative Director of the Ghana Health Service in the Central Region, Sirini Akpanya, called for support for the campaign, urging people to be ambassadors of hypertension. Abigail Nkrumah has more in this report.
May 27 was World Hypertension Day, and at the Ebu-Adunkwa District Hospital in the Central Region, the Central Regional Health Directorate marked the day with the launch of the Measure 1 Million campaign. The campaign is aimed at creating awareness of hypertension and encouraging people to get screened for the condition. Sirini Akpanya, is the Deputy Director of Administration at the Ghana Health Service in the Central Region.
Hypertension, commonly known as high blood pressure, has become a silent epidemic. You don't know and it has hit you. That is why we see gone too soon on the obituary process on the walls, because the person was not sick. All of a sudden, gone too soon. And it's affecting even the young people more now. The Measure 1 Million campaign is not just a hostel program. It is a public health revolution. 1 million blood pressure checks means 1 million chances to save lives, prevent strokes, reduce disability, and enhance productivity. Let us all rally behind this campaign. Let us each be ambassadors of hypertension.
Dr. Daniel Cranson, a senior medical officer at the Aberdunko District Hospital, shares the reason behind the Measure 1 Million campaign.
We are launching this to get more people to get screened for hypertension so that we are able to pick them up early and then start managing them early so that they don't get these complications like stroke, like heart disease, like peripheral vascular disease, which sort of increases the mortality. Statistically, it says that hypertension causes 5% of admissions in Ghana, and it causes 15% of mortality, according to our statistics. So it's something that we need to really look at very well, and we need to actually screen more people to be able to extract those who have the condition and start managing them before complications set in.
The chief of Aberdunko, Nana Owusu II, urged people to participate in the campaign.
What I have for the country is the 1 million campaign that we started here in Aberdunko. The whole nation should wake up and check their BP. It is very, very important. We should reduce our intake of salt and make sure that we eat enough fruits so that we'll be able to live long. When we go to the hospital, whatever the doctors and the medical practitioners, the nurses are telling us, we have to listen and live by it. We should take our medication and make sure that whatever they tell us is working so that with a very good health, we'll be able to take care of ourselves and our nation.
Abigail Lissal Nkoma reports for Joy News.
The CEO of Student Testing Services in Cape Coast has criticized the double-track system introduced in senior high schools by the previous government, describing the system as one that limits the freedom of teachers. According to the CEO, Samuel Odro Asabre, although the initiative has the best interest of the student, teachers are not motivated enough to apply the system. He questioned teachers' involvement in the decision-making of the new school system, urging the government to compensate all senior high school teachers. And he was speaking at the NAT Delegates Conference in the Adansi East Municipality of the Ashanti region.
The 7th Quadrennial 54th District Delegates Conference by Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, is on the theme, The Ghana Education Service at 50, Achievements, Teacher Motivation, Challenges, and the Way Forward. During the conference of the Adansi East NAT Secretariat, the CEO of Student Testing Services in Cape Coast, Samuel Odro Asabre, criticized the double-track system in senior high schools and spoke about digitalization.
Those of us who have passed through the university system and who know what is happening, somebody is recruited today. Within the next month, the person is paid. So you ask yourself, in this age of technology, teachers will fill forms, everyday forms. You ask yourself, why? The same set of data, you will submit it twice in a year. If you want to really help teachers in terms of motivation, we have to do more. Teachers also deserve better. As a matter of urgency, the government has to initiate action to compensate all senior high school teachers who are on the double track.
The district NAT chairman in Adansi East, Ernest Jima, highlighted some challenges of NAT.
The challenges that my people are facing are, let me say, enormous. But the very first one that I will talk of is our road network. It is affecting our teachers so much that most of them uses motor to school, of course, you know the implications, the risk involved, and even the monetary aspect attached to it. They pay more. They pay more when they go on motorbikes. So we will plead with the government that our road network in Adansi East, which comprises Adansi Asoko and Adansi South, government will come and have a look at it.
In her address, the National Vice President of NAT, Amanda Lucia Samoa, defended the association.
Since I have been scouting all the conferences, it has come to my attention that people are accusing the national executive as having been in bed with the government, and so we are not being pragmatic and proactive. But let me tell you, just as I read from the rules of our constitution, we are self-dependent. We are not supposed to be in bed with any government because our constitution frowns solely on it.
From Adansi East Municipality, Abigail Lissel in Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
An English teacher from Pakro Anglican Basic School in the Akuapem South District of Ghana has made history as the first woman and Ghanaian to win the Global 2025 Cambridge Dedicated Teacher Awards. In a close race with 8 other regional winners from around the globe, Portia Jifa Jila earned 33% of the public vote to become the overall winner. The competition celebrates the role that teachers play in shaping the lives of their learners and preparing them for the world. Pakro is a remote farming community that faces challenges such as high rate of pupil absence and teenage pregnancy. But Portia is dedicating her professional career to transforming education. And Joy News' Blazer Suga went and met him and reports.
Pakro Ejinasi St. James Anglican School is one of the very few rural facilities providing public education in the Akuapem South Municipality of the Eastern Region. Here, we find Portia Jifa Jila, a teacher dedicating her career to impacting knowledge on school children in rural communities.
So, I have been teaching in Pakro Ejinasi Anglican School for 6 years now. Came here in 2019 to 2025. It's been an awesome experience with mixed feelings. Sometimes you feel a whole time a girl. I feel like going back home. But I also think of the fact that the children in rural communities need an excellent teacher like myself. So I decided to stay and make input, make an impact before I move out.
But the experience of working in this community with many less endowed parents and guardians requires one to be just more than a teacher in the classroom.
Just as I have good relationship with the children, I do equally have a very good relationship with their parents as well, where some of them come home even after school to burst out their grievances that they need some form of help. For example, I, by the grace of God, have been able to get funds to support one orphan here, who is a very good student at the primary. Most of the children, even from primary, had issues with school uniforms, being in very good uniforms. Gladly, I was able to raise some funds, got uniforms for over 100 children, and their parents were also very appreciative. And for the girls, they were going through challenges of not being consistent in coming to school. I probed further, had interactions with some of them, and noticed that menstrual hygiene was also an issue. So I decided to bring in the sanitary pad project in addition to the school uniforms project. And it's been good, so far so good. There are some girls I even have to chase them to their homes to find out why they've been absent from school for some days.
Fortunately for Portia, her selfless act of service is gaining global recognition, having made history of being the first ever Ghanaian regional winner of the 2025 Cambridge Dedicated Teacher Awards.
I was highly elated, I screamed, I just couldn't hold back my joy. Because for me to be here in this rural community, very far away from the capital city, and be noticed, recognized, it was mind-blowing, yeah.
With this award, Posha is hoping to make more impact in her community, as she also appeals for more partnerships to support her campaign of improving quality of education in rural communities.
But I would want to put it out there to the general public, to NGOs, to individuals who have the capacity to support us, to supply computers to my school. We need them badly, and possibly put up a whole structure where we can have as an ICT lab. Because here we have just a small section of a room which we are using as an ICT lab.
There's against report for Joy News.
Well, congratulations to Portia Jifajila. And if you have the means, please help her get some computers for her school. And that takes us into our business update now with Benjamin Akapo.
This is your business updates. Let's start with our currency market for today. Well, let's get into our sole story for the morning. An economist, Professor Patrick Isuming, is cautioning government against returning to the international capital market to borrow. According to him, such a move could introduce additional risks and challenges to the economy. In an interview with Joy Business, he emphasized that the government's focus should instead be directed toward resolving structural issues within the real sectors of the economy, as prioritizing borrowing over economic fundamentals could undermine long-term stability and growth.
Also, going back to the international capital market, I'm not so sure. But I think it shouldn't be out of our thinking at the moment. We still have fundamental challenges in the economy that have to be addressed. I think the president should focus on. Let's fix the real sector issues. It appears that the recent strong performance of the city seem to have taken too much attention, and we seem to forget that the economy still has real problems. So I think when you have the kind of challenges we have, the focus should be on fixing the challenges and not trying to get access to the international capital market. It's fraught with a lot of challenges and dangers. I think at the moment, I mean, we should make it clear, as long as we are under the IMF program, we are not going back there. It's part of the deal we've signed up to that we are not going back. So that is the first thing. But currently, global rates are not extremely kind to Africa. The Africa risk premium is still very high. And I think at the moment, we see that our reserves position are strong and the city is doing well. So it looks attractive to go and borrow. But that's not always going to be the case. So we've borrowed at the past at extremely high interest rates and not being able to service the debt is what has brought us here in the first place. So I think that we have to tread cautiously.
Well, from our economy and borrowing, let's now check out our commodities market. That's it for your business updates. But coming up next, we serve you sports with the man of the moment. He's clad in a Black Stars jersey. Muftar Nabil Abdullahi is up next with sports.
We bring you sports now on the AM show with me, Muftar Nabil Abdullahi. Black Stars head coach Otto Ado has been speaking ahead of his first game in the Unity Cup later tonight. He says that game against Nigeria will not be a revenge.
Well, we played draw, but we qualified for the World Cup. And there were tensions that day. But to be honest, the Nigerian fans weren't angry on us. So they didn't harm us anyway. They were angry at their own players, so surely we had to get into the dressing room to be safe. But I think this is a conversation where the fans of Nigeria and the Nigerian team should be asked, not us. So we didn't have anything to do with this. And for us, I think for everybody, it's very important that whatever the outcome of the result is, that the spectators stay calm and safe, and I think violence shouldn't have any place in football at all. It's difficult to say. So Iñaki has been out, for example, for 3 weeks. There's nothing we can do. Kudos, he came to the hotel today and visited the players. So there are different things. So we are still bonding, we are connecting, we're trying to do the best. But if somebody's injured, there's nothing we can do, and we have to look at the games. On the other side, it gives opportunity for a lot of other players, and this is how football is. At the moment, it's not only us, but also other teams have a lot of injuries. Some are very, very serious, and some are maybe just lightly. But this is how it is, and we try still to bond. This is a situation also which could occur in September. So, and we just try to prepare our best for these upcoming matches, and surely we have to rely on the players which are there. So there's nothing you can do about this. Everybody's trying to give his best, and surely what I want is that those players who are in England or London especially, that they come to visit the team, and this is what they want to do. And like I said, Kudos was at the hotel today, or is still there, and this is what is also bonding to show up, to communicate, and this is the only thing we can do in this very situation.
That game will kick up at 7 p.m. and we'll have commentary on Joy 99.7 FM. And Jamaica, they are already in the final after defeating Trinidad and Tobago by 3-2 in the first game.
And the referee had a decent enough view, I think, of it from there. There's a penalty. AC Palmer, he's the one that is going to step up and take it, and scores coolly with a Panenka penalty from Palmer to score his first goal in Jamaican colours. And he will certainly remember his first international goal. Might open up here. Burrell again, played in, big save by Philip. Cephas, and he couldn't quite take it out from under his feet to get his shot away. Touch in there for Bell, now Cephas. Back towards Palmer, and again, and he does get his shot away, and there's the improvised finish to make it 2. And it's a debut goal for Roman Burrell by Marvin Phillip, but Burrell certainly wasn't. Watched it carefully. A rapid response of his 16 goals for Defence Force. It's earned him a chance with the national team, and he's taken his chance here all right. Jamaica were maybe still celebrating their second hand. Here he comes then, Cardines. Brilliant effort, so unlucky but in. And Trinidad and Tobago are back on terms. Kevin Molino following up to score. charging forward, slipping it through. Cephas reaching it just ahead of the goalkeeper, and penalty given on his shoulders up against Marvin Phillip. Powerful penalty. King finds the top corner, and Jamaica surely have won it after all.
Some boxing now, where the 7-member committee that investigated the death of Nigerian boxer Gabriel says that they found that there was some structural deficiency in the Ghana Boxing Authority. My colleague Victor Achutamaklo has details in this report.
In its investigations, the committee discovered that the GBA sanctioned the bouts even when there was no valid contract between the Nigerian boxer and the fight promoter. When Joy Sports spoke to the GBA in April, its communications director, Mohammed Amin Lamte, insisted that the governing body had acted within the confines of the law.
Before he comes, the Nigeria Boxing Board of Control, they have to give us a release. The release will now justify that he's a credible and durable boxer. We need his medical history or medical report. And then number 3, we must be able to know that this guy is a licensed. So Ghana Boxing Authority, we have to look at the boxer, look at his record. That is why we got to know that this is a former national Nigerian champion, light heavyweight division. He was a former West African champion and former African champion. This is a credible opponent. Yes, the fight was organized by Osibo and Ace Promotions. That was at the Bukom Park on Friday. So they went on. Number 2, we need his medical history or medical report. And then number 3, we must be able to know that this guy is a licensed boxer. There are some boxers that, yes, you would know them as professional boxers, but they have taken out or they've gone into hibernation. They are no more active. So if you accept such boxers, they may end up giving you a problem. So Ghana Boxing Authority, we have to look at the boxer, look at his record.
However, the committee has now found that not only did the GBA sanction the bout without a valid contract, but its Nigerian counterparts were also in on the act.
No contract, and it's a technical word I'm using. No contract because the promoter didn't sign the contract. Meantime, it's somewhere stated that the parties to this contract here with attached signatures. The promoter did not sign it, so that has no legal backing.
Did he give a reason for not signing the contract?
You see, first of all, I want to go back to the Nigerian Boxing Board of Control, because since if they did due diligence, the boxer produced the contract. Because without a contract, what would be the basis for providing the release the letter? So they saw it, but they were not interested in verifying. They were interested in their cut of the money, because they get a certain percentage of the purse. So I think they're just still doing business. So they didn't even look at it, because if they had examined it, it would have been obvious. It was obvious to the committee the promoter had not signed it. So it was of no legal effect. So since there was no contract, there's nothing. So why would you release the boxer from Nigeria?
In his testimony to the committee, Olanrewaju's trainer, Alamu, said the boxer did not honor the fight on the 28th of March because he had been asked to throw the fight. His testimony was consistent with that of Remy Aboderin, the General Secretary of the Nigerian Boxing Board of Control, who made claims of attempts by the promoter to fix the bout in favor of John Mbanugu. However, the pair could not provide any proof beyond the allegations. On his part, the promoter mentioned some objections without specifying the nature of these objections as the reason the bout was cancelled.
According to the promoter, the trainer, Alamu, rather called him on Saturday, about 9 a.m.-ish, Saturday on the day of the fight, March 29th, and that they wanted a way out, a way in, if there were any bouts available, because they would rather fight for something than go back to Nigeria empty-handed. Whereupon, according to him, he made arrangements and got them back onto the bill for that Saturday, which was the IMAX GBA.
The GBA and the fight promoters admitted that there was no mandatory medical assessment for this fight. The mandatory pre-boxing medical assessments are necessary for ensuring that the boxer has no underlying medical conditions that could be further exacerbated by their participation in a professional fight. These assessments usually will include a physical examination, neurological test, heart and fitness test, and vision test. Any chances of the boxer surviving were further depleted by the fact that there were no doctors at ringside to provide the necessary emergency response. In fact, the GBA's entire emergency response infrastructure, according to the committee, is made up of just one nurse parading as a qualified medical doctor.
Most of these promoters that we talk to in our promoters said they pay the GBA to provide medical doctors, which hasn't been the case. They take the money and then they don't provide the doctors, putting the safety and health of boxers in grave danger. And we think that most of these fighters have to be covered by insurance. Because if Olani Waju had insurance, at least the surviving widow and the children would have something. You know, so not just for international fighters, but all fighters going forward have to be covered by insurance. And there should be a doctor. I mean, every federation, starting from the Ghana Boxing Authority, must have a medical commission, without which there can be no fights. But we cannot stop boxing. Boxing got to continue. The activity got to keep going.
Yet, one quiz on Joy FM's plan.
And now, later tonight, there will be the UEFA Conference League final between Chelsea and Real Betis. Let's hear from Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca.
I try to join every game. I try to be happy about every game, you know, to see if the game plan is working, how the player they enjoy the game. So for me, it's been a journey since the game we play against Servette, because we start the conference playing the playoff. We didn't start the conference, you know, already in the group. So it's been a long journey, but after game, I try to enjoy all the games.
You've given opportunity to younger players in this squad. Are you pleased with how they've developed and come through, and has it actually gone as you thought it would with them?
Yeah, first of all, because if we decide to give them the chances, because they deserve and they are good player, for sure you have to improve always, especially when you are young like them. And overall, we try always to give them the chance when they are good player, not only in the conference, also in the Premier League. So even for them, has been a moment to grow and to improve.
As a man, are you someone that looks back on your own achievements? This is your first final as a manager. Is that something that you're proud of, or you not really thought about it?
No, yeah, for sure I'm proud of that, because it's a European competition, it's a final. But in terms of prepare the game, I won't change. I will try to prepare the game in the way I always try to prepare all the games.
How do you think it alters the dynamic when you and Manuel know each other so well? You must know slightly what he might be thinking and how he's going to approach.
Yeah, no, the good thing about Manuel, that is not going to change, because he loves the football in one way. So it's quite clear what they're going to do, in the way they're going to do. But the final, at the end, it's always a final. It's one game, anything can happen. Hopefully, we can win the final.
The maiden edition of the Tumu Community Cup, organized by my colleague Fenty Utahi, was won by Real 24 Babies. My colleague Abdul Karim Benin has details in this report. And this is our wrap-up AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi.
The decisive goal came just minutes into the first half. The Tumu-based Division 2 side held firm under pressure to claim the historic title. Real 24 Hours not only lifted the trophy, but also walked away with 5,000 Ghana cedis in prize money and medals. Bujang Crocodiles, as runners-up, received 3,000 Ghana cedis, while third-place Soccer Babies earned 2,000 Ghana cedis. The competition was graced by the Sisala East Member of Parliament, Honorable Mohamed Issa Bataglia, alongside the Municipal Chief Executive, Honorable Adamu Yakubu. Honorable Bataglia expressed optimism that the event had inspired the youth, while Honorable Yakubu commended the excellent organization of the tournament.
Football in the Sisala land has always been top-notch in Upper West. This is what we've seen again. Before, it was dying down. It was like there was no hope. A lot of people did the same thing, and yet nobody went anywhere. You, Karim, Fentu, the joint news team, we are talking about Betway coming in. You have uplifted some kind of spirit of our young ones. I am sure they are more energized walking out of this pit, believing that there's a future for them to be able to lay their hands on. I trust that this is going to inspire a lot of young ones to come out to be able to play good soccer in other, and also even other forms of sporting activities that we are aware of.
In fact, this is superb. If you look at the organization, if you look at the way the whole program has been organized, I think we have to commend the organizers for doing a wonderful job today. It is clear that everything has been planned, the arrangement, looking at how the teams have come, looking at their dresses, looking at the skillful play indicates that the tournament or the program is well or planned before its execution.
Football analyst coach Christopher Nimley has called for the Tumu Cup to become an annual event.
For me, I thank God I came here. Believe you me, I am extremely grateful that I came here today. I've been here twice. I was here yesterday. I've been here again today. And if you look at the level of commitment and how very successful this thing has become, a humble plea to my brother and to everybody who supported this thing cannot end here. It has to be an annual thing, so that by the grace of God, we'll use this platform to change the fortunes using football of most of the young boys in the area. Yeah.
Speaking after the event, Fentu Tahiru Fentu said the success of the tournament has inspired him to do more.
Wonderful competition, great turnout. I'm very, very grateful for all the people that made this successful, all the volunteers, the MC, the MP, all the people that came here, the District Football Association, all of my friends who called, reached out, helped out in various ways, those who made the trip here, and the biggest thanks to my big sponsors, Betway, who took this upon themselves to come and organize this competition, and to Piva Beverages for all the amazing support that they provided us in making this successful. It's inspired me, it's given me the vim, really, to go on and do more.
The one-day tournament, which followed 6 qualifying matches, was a collaborative initiative led by Joy Sports editor Fentu Tahiru Fentu in collaboration with leading bookmakers Betway and supported by Piva Beverages.
Welcome aboard the news review segment on the AM show, the Ben and Sweetie show. And we're live on across all 16 regions of Ghana on the Joy News channel, around the world on myjoyonline.com. The AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, and if you're thinking of a rewarding investment that you can engage in, then Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such investment. At Waylead Company Limited, we give you the best prices. Listen, it's a real estate company with several development suites credits in Accra. And their newest development, Willow Lane, is where you want to put your money because it's where elegance meets tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at affordable cost with flexible payment options, 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. Why don't you give us a call now on these numbers? 0240 111 119 or 0504 499 999. You can also visit our website on www.waylead.org for more information. Then we introduce our guest to you.
Well, let's get into our guests this morning joining the conversation. 3 stalwarts. Dr. Kwame Asante. He is a political scientist. He also is head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. We have Dr. Jabir Mohammed. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. And we also have Dr. Pakwesi Eduafo Abedu. He's a development analyst. It's the day of the PhDs, right? Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, sir, and good morning, Sweetie, and our viewers as well. Of course, my colleagues, good morning, seniors.
And as always, I would like to salute my former classmate, Dr. Mohammed, especially on his background. You know, I tease you all the time. Good to see all of you.
Today I'm back to base.
Yes.
Last week I was in Tamale.
Yes. Welcome back. Let's quickly get into let's quickly get into our thoughts for the morning. Please make them bite-sized so that we can have ample time to discuss the main matters. I'll start with you, Dr. Mohammed. Any thoughts for us this morning?
Well, this morning, as I said earlier on, I was in the north last week, and I observed two things from my district. One of them is that the national service personnel will have to walk from a long distance from the Kumbungu district to the Tolong district to submit their monthly claims. And I think that this is rather unfortunate because the distance is just too much and the road is absolutely bad. So I'm calling on the National Service Authority to try to open an office at the Kumbungu district. The district assembly has a bigger space, and I don't think that they will struggle to find a space to operate an office there. So as a matter of agency, if they're listening, they should do something about that so that we can serve the young ones. Some of them will have to cross a river before they even go through the barrows to the place to be able to submit it. Can you imagine the ordeal they go through every month? The last one I want to talk about is that there was a storm that brought down even transformers within the community. And some of them after today are still not cut out of the national grid. So as a matter of agency, I also want to plead with the Electricity Company of Ghana or NETCO to work with them so that they can put the place in order.
All right. Thank you very much for those thoughts. Let me do Dr. Kwame Asante right now.
Yeah. Ben, thank you for the opportunity. Today, I want to look at, I saw a news item, very shocking and sad story. A Nigerian boxer who came to Ghana, fought, collapsed, and died. And reports suggest that certain things did not go well. There was no medical officer, which is a requirement in such, programs. There was no, test conducted prior the bout and all that. So I asked myself, who sanctioned that? It tells you that something went wrong. Ghana has been the home of for boxers. So when these things happen, it really dents our image. We need to get our bases right. I am happy and I commend my good friend, the Minister for Sports, Kofi Adams, that he quickly set up a committee to go into it. I will urge him to follow the report and get to the conclusion so that at the end of the day, there will not be a repeat of this. Whoever was wrong will be told what he is supposed to know or hear so that we get our basis right.
Thank you very much for those thoughts. It's been quite a while since this happened, I think over a month or so. But just to add on, I do know that on the back of that, the association, the Boxing Association, among others, they came through and said that everything had been done right. You mentioned that certain tests had not been conducted, but they said those tests had been conducted. So I don't know. I just want to put it out there so it doesn't appear. But in the end, as set up by the sports minister, we'll see how the investigations end. Thank you, Doc. Let me do Dr. Ado finally, please.
Good morning, Ben, and good morning to my colleagues once again. I will touch briefly on the current the economic situation that we are having, specifically the cedi appreciation. What I want to say is that I think last week I talked about the need for us as a country, as a people, to tackle the issue of unemployment very seriously. Now, currently, we are looking at more than 30% of our labor population being either unemployed or underemployed. And this It's a serious issue for this country. It's an issue of security. It's an issue of, drugs and so many other, risks that we face as a country. And so with the current dynamics in terms of our city's appreciation, I would urge the government to really look at, add my voice also. I think I've heard the IEA and other institutions talking about the need for us to look at the rail sector. And I want to add my voice to that, because when the city becomes very strong, as we are currently seeing, another dynamic also is that it makes import very easy. And when imports are becoming cheaper, what it simply means also is that local production is going to face tough competition in terms of pricing. And that will mean local production will suffer. Then when local production is suffering, what it means is that unemployment will be a problem, a difficult problem to address. And so I would urge the government to look at how we can leverage the situation, how we can actually take advantage of what we are having now, to look at certain areas that the import, the cheaper import opportunity that is given us, or that the currency is currently providing us, can be utilized, explored, so that we can augment our domestic or local production in order to, beef up the rail sector, so that we'll be able to address the teeming unemployment that we are currently having in the country.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for those thoughts. Let's get into the papers now. Sweetie, how about you? Will start.
Yes, I want to start with the Daily Graphic. There are a number of stories that I want to get into, so I'll summarize each of them briefly, and then I'll come to you, gentlemen, for your reflections. But on the front page, 2 years after EVAT, GRA slow to sign on businesses. Low compliance amid revenue leakage. And Graphic EcoBank Ghana Economic Forum happens today. Ministry launches new senior high school selection guidelines. And today's passenger, tomorrow's car owner. This is an ad. So I want to start from the story of GRA. And it's saying that more than 2 years after the introduction of the electronic value-added tax invoicing system by GRA, that is to streamline tax compliance and curb revenue leakages, many retail outlets, restaurants, and hotels across the country continue to operate outside of the system. And they're saying that in spite of the EVAT's proven record of ensuring significantly higher revenue collection, it is still not being rolled out in full. Out of about 1,000, give a number here, let me find it. Out of about tens of thousands of businesses registered, only a handful are complying so far. So that's my first story. Secondly, ministry launches new senior high school selection guidelines. And the Ministry of Education has launched a revised guideline for school selection process for candidates of the 2025 Basic Education Certificate Examination. And according to the new framework, candidates who wish to enter senior high school or TVET schools are expected to select a total of 7 schools, made up of 5 main choices and 2 alternatives. And they're encouraging teachers and parents to take particular interest in that. Third story, public debt drops by 150 billion Ghana cedis as CD appreciates. That is according to President Mahama. And he announced this, that the country has reduced their total debts by about 150 billion Ghana cedis over the past 5 months. And he's attributing this to the improvement of stringent fiscal measures and currency stabilization efforts. And this he disclosed at the African Development Bank annual meeting in Abidjan yesterday. So last one, Parliament immunity not absolute, Speaker warns MP. Now, the Speaker said there has been a noticeable increase in the number of official communications from law enforcement and investigative bodies directed at the House. Quote, our position on this is unnegotiable as Parliament. I will not stand by, while members are subjected to unlawful or politically motivated persecutions. But neither will Parliament offer protection to those who seek to misuse its privileges to frustrate legal investigations. And so that's where I'll end. Of course, Black Stars and Super Eagles lock horns today in a renewed rivalry, and we are looking forward to emerging as winners today at the end of that game. I want to start with you, Dr. Ado. How do you rationalize these stories coming out this morning?
Very well, and let me start with the SHS, the new dates and timelines for the processes. I think that earlier this year, one of the bigger forums that was organized by the government was the Education Forum, where the idea was to review the education sector in its entirety and to streamline a lot of lapses that we had or we've been having in the past. My big question is that, is this new approach part of the outcomes of the forum? What is informing the change? But does it really address the bigger problem that we have been talking about? I think that, look, our education system for some time now has been distorted. The calendar, the times at which students are supposed to enroll and so on and so forth, things doesn't look too, organized or streamlined. And so I will urge beyond this that we look at the entire education systems. Look, currently, there are lots of people in the education sector who don't even know when first years are going in which university and when some universities are closing down. Some institutions are even struggling to accept interns because they are not able to follow the timelines in terms of when is a particular university closing down, when a student going back, and even in terms of the time that they are given. And so a lot of things are not really aligning currently. So I will urge that beyond the selection of school, the school placement selection process, which the government is now looking at returning back to the old system, we need to look at the broader picture within our education sector, talking about the free SHS and the double track systems and all the other issues.
Right.
We need to have a holistic review of our education system so that we'll be able to plan ahead, especially as parents and the other stakeholders within the sector.
Point noted. Any of the next stories, or should I move on?
Yes, and also of the revenue leakage, sorry. This has been an issue with us as a country all these decades. And for me, apart from our expenditure management, which we have been very poor in terms of our spending as a state, as a government, one of the biggest problems, which we have been talking about all the time, is revenue leakage. And so it is important that we look at this aspect also critically, because really, now government is being urged not to over-rely on external support or debt servicing for our budget. And so the best that we can do is to look at our side internally. What can we do ourselves to mobilize and to maximize our revenue and to ensure that the essential government expenditures are addressed so that we don't always have to go to the IMF and all the international, the funding agencies, which of course eventually also have a lot of implications on our debt servicing implications and also the forex market. And so we need to, as a people, understand that this is the time that we have to own our own development by contributing. And so to the private sector, to the business people who are always finding ways of dodging the payment of taxes, who are finding ways to not to pay and even reducing the amount they are paying and all that, we urge them. This is our country. We need their support through their contribution, through their tax payments, so that government can also mobilize enough resources. But also to the government, I think one of the issues that the citizens have been having with government is how government prudently utilize our resources, our taxes. And so government should give us that confidence. Government should give us that conviction that when we pay our taxes, the monies will be used prudently to take care of our education sector, which is in problems, and my health sector and all the needed areas that government have to look at, so that we as a people will be able to enjoy the benefits of the taxes that we pay. If not, then the citizens and the business people will also have their own way of dodging the taxes, so that they can also make their business moving.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Bedu. Dr. Kwame Asante, your take on these matters now.
Yeah, I think I'll start with the joy that we are experiencing now with the appreciation of the cedi and a reduction of public debt. Much as we want to be happy about this development, we need to be very careful so that we don't incur more debt. I'm not an economist, but over the years, I've observed with pain the ease with which our leaders, especially those in parliament, approve loans for government. They approve, and you saw where it took us to. I'm sure this time around, the resetting agenda should include the fact that we don't want to go to the old order. The old order has changed, and it should be so. So on that score, we need to be very disciplined in the way we handle our physical, programs, and then make sure also that the little that we have, we ensure value for money in terms of the usage of our resources. That's the way to go. I want to also touch on the issue of parliamentary immunity. Yes, I am happy the Speaker has touched on this matter because it's everybody who is in the state, as far as rule of law is concerned, we are all equal before the law, right? Nobody is above it. Of course, when you are in a certain category, in terms of the work that you do, you are immune from certain things, but it doesn't take you away from the fact that you are also under the law. So I am happy that the Speaker has reminded people of this rule that exists, so that whatever you do, be prepared that you'll be called upon to answer. Then it doesn't become what, a witch hunt or any other thing. Any public officer also bear in mind that a day will come that you'll be asked to account for the stewardship of your office. And when it is done within the framework of the law, it should not be misconstrued to be anything negative. Then I'll touch
before you move on, how do you make sense of what the Speaker said? That has been an increase, a noticeable increase in the number of official communications from law enforcement and investigative bodies directed at the House, either asking for leave for a parliamentarian to be questioned or something. It looks like that number is increasing. Is that something we should be concerned about?
What is wrong with that? If that is the case, so be it. I don't have a problem with that. If there are people in Parliament who must answer questions, obviously, the security people cannot be prevented from doing their work. But of course, when they are doing their work, they should also work within the framework of the law. So the increase in that tells you that there is a problem. But of course, once people are accused, it does not also necessarily mean that, they've committed the offense for which we are talking about. So I want to believe that if people are mentioned in Parliament, the security people must do their work. And at the end of the day, we'll see the truth. The last one is the issue of this VAT and the GRA issue. It comes to one issue of what? Weak capacity of our state. Our state is always quick to make laws, but how to enforce them and get the needed results is always a problem. I believe that we are in a new era. Things must change and change for the better. I expect this new government to be able to put things in its proper perspective so that these problems will be a thing of the past. And of course, as my colleague, Dr. Ado said, how we utilize state resources, right, is also a problem. And we want to see that every little money that we get, we must put them into what? Effective use. After all, and we as a society must also be vigilant that our resources are put into proper use.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asante. Dr. Mohammed, let's hear you now.
Well, so I will start with the BEC, or the new modalities for the senior high school. In my candid opinion, I think that it's a step in the right direction because, anytime that we have to allow the senior high school student, the BC student to select schools, it's always a very, very big problem. Sometimes they have to even report at the Ministry of Education. The challenges are so numerous. So if you are finding ways and means of streamlining that particular issue, I think that it is the best way to go. So I want to commend the minister for taking that step. And I do hope that they'll be able to execute it and execute it well. If they are coming out with a new platform, all the issues must be addressed so that we don't have the problem that we continue to have. Sometimes when they release it, a lot of people will go and say, we don't want the school. And meanwhile, you selected the school. So whichever school that you have selected, you have confidence in the school. That is how come that you have selected it. We should not be tolerating all kinds of changes and other things. So if you select and you get any school, go there and prove yourself so that you can pass well and go to the university. Now, on the issue of the GRA is something that we really have to look at because revenue is very important. Revenue mobilization is what is going to help us reduce our deficit. So if you continue to have leakages in our revenue, it means that we will not be able to meet our target and our deficit will continue to go high. And anytime deficit goes up, that is how come that the government will be attempting to borrow more to be able to finance the deficit that we have. So the businesses that are not being honest to themselves and being honest to the state might have to begin to become honest. If we are able to do so and rope all of them into the platform, we are going to show up the revenue. Now, to the tax officials, sometimes some of them may also aid in some of these processes. So if you are doing that, you're not being honest to the state because the system is there. If there are challenges with the system, we can help to improve the system. We can always use ITs to be able to improve the system so that people can hook onto the system and people can properly channel their taxes through the system. All of us are taxpayers. We pay income tax. We pay any amount of money that we may receive from anywhere as taxes. So I see no reason why a business that is making profit is failing to pay taxes. I mean, you are not being honest, you are not being truthful to the state. So all of us will have to pay our taxes timely so that we can utilize the resources to develop the country. Everybody is looking for good roads. We are looking for hospitals. We are looking for a railway system. We are looking for airport system, everything. So if you don't pay taxes, where are we going to get the money to do that? So businesses must pay their taxes. And the only way to pay your tax and pay it well is to have a platform hook onto your sales system so that the government can see that in real time and be able to know that at the end of the day, this is how much taxes we are getting from XYZ businesses. So they should enforce it. If anybody fails to do so, they should arrest them and punish them.
Is it a shortfall on the part of GRA that after 2 years, we haven't been able to onboard as many eligible businesses as possible out of the tens of thousands that are supposed to be on there?
The point is that maybe GRA themselves are not being efficient, or some people are benefiting from it. And that's how come that they are not promoting it. So I think the new GRA commissioner should sit up and work very hard to ensure that the system works.
Right.
All businesses that are supposed to be having a sales up to 500,000 Ghana cedi or so are supposed to be hooked onto the system. So let's ensure that we get this thing done. It is only through efficient IT system that we can improve our revenue. Else, people will earn all kinds of money. You wouldn't know where the money is passing. So if you are not able to track all the revenue, you cannot appropriately collect your taxes.
All right.
The taxes that they are collecting, it's really small. They think that they are doing well, but the economy is still very wide. They can collect more than that, what they are doing currently. Now, for the issue of the public debt, the point is that, yes, the appreciation of the cedi is going to help you to reduce the quantum of money that you owe. But that doesn't give you the license to continue to go on borrowing spree. I think that they have started very well by ensuring that they have a very strong physical coordination between the Bank of Ghana and that of the Ministry of Finance. If the Bank of Ghana began to do expansionary monetary policy, and they also do expansionary fiscal policy, we are going to go back to where we came from. So the coordination should be there. It shouldn't give them the licenses, as earlier on said, to continue to add or pile on more debt. It should be an opportunity to begin to service our debts now so that we can continue to reduce the debt stock. Because external debt, as we stand right now, is about almost 40 something or 45 point something %. So this is the time to begin to exercise the right to reduce your external debt by paying up some of the debt, because now you have an appreciation of the cedi. So the difference that we had.
Doc, you have to wrap on this point for me. You've exhausted your time.
That $1 billion, 150 billion Ghana cedis. We can use that to service the debt so that we can reduce our external debt as it currently stands.
All right. Thank you so much. And Benjamin, you want to come in?
Gentlemen, I'm going to do 2 papers out of my 3, and I would encourage that you walk along with me pretty quickly so that we can exhaust the stories. But let me start with this comment sent through by Reverend Lati. He says, and it's on the back of some of what was in the papers yesterday. Good morning. My question this morning is this. The nation woke up upset to learn that ECG containers containing expensive wares were lost at the Tema port. What happened? What really happened if the containers have been found. And we need to get to the bottom of who stole. Yes, stole. Those that ended up north where people were smelting and all of that. Who stole, who was in the process of stealing, what was true, what was not true, and we need to sanitize it. So, and the reason is we don't want this to happen again. So we need to know what happened, and that's it. But let me get into the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper. President Mahama endorses Margins ID Group. KGL boss grabs CEO of the year again. Use technology to enforce tax laws. Experts advise government. I believe we've done that story already. Dr. Asante pushes for African Energy College. Washington embassy closure. Minority slams Ablakwa's infantile decision. Let's get right into the stories. I'll start with... let me start with the Washington issue. It's on page 8. And as the story goes, Member of Parliament for Kaikwe Central, Patrick Yabwama, has slammed Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Kudjeto Ablakwa for what he calls a tactless decision to abruptly shut down Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C. over allegations of corruption. Honorable Bwama, speaking in an exclusive interview at his office, said while rooting out rot within the Foreign Service is necessary, the manner in which the closure was handled has harmed Ghana's international image. He expressed dismay over the public announcement by the foreign minister on social media, stating that the decision lacked political prudence. That's what he says. In any case, it was some specific units that had to be shut. As far as I know as well, as of sometime yesterday, it had been reopened. And in case, gentlemen, you've not followed the story, some staff there, I think since 2017, had created a pseudo website linked to the official website, and they had been collecting money unofficially, charging people $60. And that had gone on for years. And now it's been found out. Then let me get to some other stories. I want to do the one on the CJ. Tokonu cries foul over violations of constitutional rights, and suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Arabai Sabasaki Tokonu has filed a supplementary affidavit before the Supreme Court seeking an interlocutory injunction to halt ongoing proceedings by the Presidential Committee set up to investigate petitions against her. The Chief Justice is asking the Apex Court to intervene to stop what she described as a mockery of justice and a ruse to remove her unjustifiably from office. There are lots of details. She talks about the fact that she thinks the committee is hostile to her. She says her lawyer has not been granted certain privileges. She's not been allowed to go in with her husband and all of that. And on the back of that, she says she's being treated worse than someone who is even a criminal. There have been responses to that, however. Then there's a story about privileges, not impunity. Speaker Bagbin fires MPs. We've already taken a look at that story. I will also look at this one and pause here for your reactions. So 3 stories. You don't have to react to all of them, but you can, if you will. Please be brief. Police constable allegedly defrauds 197 in recruitment scam. An Achimota District Court has issued a bench warrant for the arrest of General Constable Samuel Appiah with service number 58577 for allegedly defrauding by false pretenses. Appiah is alleged to have hoodwinked some 197 prospective applicants in a security service recruitment scam last year. According to the warrant available to the Ghana News Agency, issued on 13th May 2025 and signed by Mr. Prince Otto Owusu, the presiding judge of the court said, quote, "You are hereby commanded in the name of the president to apprehend the said constable of the National Formed Police Unit, Tesano Accra, to appear before the district court." These 3 stories, any quick reactions? I'll start with you, Dr. Asante.
I'll start with the ECG containers.
Right.
I am happy that they found a number of them. But still, as you rightly pointed out, we want to get to the bottom of it and see what went wrong so that we can fix the problem permanently. This thing is not only peculiar to ECG, things getting lost in public offices. We need to sanitize these things because these things cost the state a lot of money. And remember that we struggle to have resources to manage our own affairs. The little that we have, we must protect them.
And let me just add, let me just add on the back of this. There's a story in the paper that does it. Just the numbers. Apparently, we were looking for 1,300. Guess what? We found out that it's actually a staggering 2,637. Please go ahead, Doc.
Yes. And they said now what is left is about 400 or so. We want to know, get to the bottom of it, so that at the end of the day we can, free ourselves from this thing. The story about the U.S. Ghana U.S. office, Ghana's office in the U.S.
the embassy,
and matters arising there. It is a sorry story that people can use this office to make money. But were they oblivious of the fact that they will be caught? I am happy with the position of the minister, but he must make sure that it doesn't also grind to a halt the activities of the embassy. Because there are a lot of people who are applying every day to want to come to Ghana and all that. He should, handle it in such a way that people will not be affected. But those who are found culpable must be able to answer to the questions that will be posed to them. The CJ and then the affidavit, all that he has filed at the Supreme Court. Today, I'm sure we're told that the exchanges will go on at the Supreme Court. We are all glued to our sets, and then also looking forward to the media to update us about the goings on in the Supreme Court. So I'll leave it with the court where it's an appropriate forum.
Right.
They would discuss it and then they will share the information. We'll know what's happening. The police officer who is accused of having, done something untoward, about 197 applicants who have been,
hoodwinked.
Yeah, it's an allegation. So I want to believe that the police authority will go into it, and then we find out what has gone wrong, so that at the end of the day, these things will save the image of the police service and also get people be careful about any time they put in application and all that. So it's a measure that the police have taken, and I'm sure they'll get to the bottom and we will know the rest of the story.
Thank you. Dr. Ado. Please be brief.
Yes, so with regards to the embassy issue, I'm thinking that maybe some cybersecurity or digital platforms could have been explored instead of just closing down the embassy. I think closing down was like too extreme, and that, next time we need to be very diplomatic with some of these things, because they have a lot of international implications. They have a lot of, relationship implications as far as bilateral, discussions are concerned. Really, this is equally a time that a lot of Ghanaians are planning for summer travels to to Ghana to visit and all that. And so, if you close that embassy, what signal do you send to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora? So, I think that we could have been more tactful with this whole move. And so, I agree with people who are criticizing the decision, but at the end of it all, whatever the gentleman or the people involved did, it's not something that we need to encourage. But I think broadly, in a broader sense, that is what most of the public institutions and even those who are working for us as government, we have a lot of these concerns or issues when it comes to corruption and doing also illegalities in the quest to amass wealth for themselves. So we need to, understand some of these things and look at how we can audit our entire public space and then ensure that we get the best out of our labor or human resources who are working for us from these institutions. The next thing I want to touch on is the Chief Justice issue. For me, we need to look at this issue very, very tactfully once again, because, look, we are looking at risk setting the country. Now, risk setting, in my understanding, involves doing the right thing to correct the wrongs which have been done in the past. But on the other side also, it involves not doing something that will enforce or reinforce what wrongs or the wrongs that we have been doing in the past. I think that if we don't manage this very carefully, it will create a certain path for us in our democratic journey, where a time will come that when the government changes, any other thing will have to change, and it will not help in terms of our governance continuity.
Right.
And so I would just urge that we look at it very critically. With the ECG containers, look, it's still absurd to me. Who was involved? Where was it found? When? I mean, we need to really understand these issues very well. If not, then it doesn't make sense. Sorry to say that containers with such sizes will be lost. We don't know where they've been to or where they were. I mean, who was involved
in terms of where they were? Maybe the specific individuals might be the problem.
And we are happy about this, saying we have been found. I mean, are we joking as a country?
Right.
And so for me, if they have been found, thank God. But those who are involved, we need to find them and punish them accordingly.
All right. Like I said, it remains to be seen who were directly involved. We've heard Samuel Dubik Mahama, the former head managing director of the ECG, come and pass his commentary. This has been months now. But the good thing is some of these were found at certain terminals of the ports, okay, which makes for interesting readings. They were at the port in different places. Not all of them were there. I have mentioned that some of them had been taken out. Some of them were being, made into aluminium and all of that. So definitely we ought to get to the bottom of it. On the issue of the suspension and likely, if or unlikely, removal of the Chief Justice, the majority leader, and it's one of the conversations we're having today, Mahama Ayariga, has spoken about more processes, comprehensive processes in future for the removal of a Chief Justice or similar persons. It's something we are discussing today, so I guess measures will be put in place. Dr. Mohammed, thoughts on these matters? Please be brief as well.
Well, the Chief Justice, she has the right to be given a lawyer. So they have to allow. She has the right to fair hearing. Let me put it that way. So they have to allow her to come with her lawyer and allow her to present her evidence. And if she's found culpable, at the end of the day, the law should take its own course. I don't think that we should frustrate her in certain things for her to come out to pass the comments that she's passing. They should give her all the legal courtesies so that she can properly defend herself. At the end of the day, if she is not able, then the law will apply to her. Now, on the Ghana Embassy issue, forensic audit is very important. Yes, that could have been done without necessarily shutting down the place, because it has a lot of serious implications when it comes to our international reputation. But I'm happy that it's been reopened for business to continue to operate. The US, we have had a very long-standing relationship with them. So some of these things should not mar our relationship with them. So let's continue to have that. And let's continue to do the right thing. But whoever was involved in this process will be arrested, and the necessary sanctions should be applied to the person.
Right.
Now, there is an African Energy College that you mentioned. I think that is of interest to me. We need to begin to give people energy education. Energy education is very important, and it is quite limited in the country. So if we are calling for African Energy College, it's a step in the right direction so that people in the energy sector can begin to up their game and their skill when it comes to improvement in the energy sector.
All right. There are these two stories that I mean, this I just saw, and it's rather heartbreaking. I know this person personally. A veteran journalist, Kwesi Jan Apenteng, passes on. And Nana Kwesi Jan Apenteng is a veteran journalist and former chairman of the National Media Commission. He passed on in London. He is said to have passed on Monday. And if you've been in the literary space, you would know the role he had played as well in terms of the Ghana Association of Writers and the Pan-African Writers Association. So I found that rather shocking, seeing it here in the newspaper. Yes, indeed. And then government to extend free SHS policy to private schools or private institutions. Then Daily Gist this morning, jobs for the boys at GRA. Mahama appoints 5 technical advisors. NIB arrests Wontumi. Chief Justice tortured. That's the caption there. Phones, laptops seized. Family barred at probe hearing. Minority demands answers over ECG missing containers. Some of the issues we've done already. So, gentlemen, I'm not going to read any further. If there's any follow-up, a quick follow-up based on what I've said, in 30 seconds, you can do that. and Sweetie will do the rest of her papers. I'll start with you, Dr. Mohammed.
Well, the free senior high school to private institution is a good step in the right direction so that we can mop in other schools so that the placement can be done and done properly.
Right. Thank you. Dr. Sansante, as an academic as well, what's your take? You'd have to unmute.
Yeah, I think I will look at the sad story of Major John Mahama. He has paid his due. He has really worked for journalism in this country. So it's sad that we hear this story. But we are with the family and we support them. People, the young people in journalism, I'm sure they will emulate the good things he has done for journalism so that we will all work and contribute our quota to this beautiful industry.
Right. All right. Dr. Abedu, do you have anything to say or should we move on?
Yes, so I will touch briefly on the Wontumi issue with the CID and the Yoko. What I want to say is that as an environmentalist, as someone who is concerned about small-scale mining and environmental issues, we know that there are a lot of political actors, a lot of big guys who are behind this Galamsey canker. But the current handling of Wontumi for us does not really address or does not really seem to tackle the issue of the political elite who are involved in Galamsey, but it's looking more of political witch hunting, which for me does not help to address the issue. Of course, the issue that is being used to handle him all around recently is all about he involving in illegal mining. But there are so many other political cases. There are so many other cases out there which we could have explored so that it wouldn't be Wontumi alone per se, but the bigger class of political, the political class and the highly influential class. So it goes back to my earlier submission to say that we need to tread cautiously with this whole resetting thing and the way we are going about it. If not, it will be like, okay, government have changed, and so we need to now chase anybody who we think we have an issue with. It doesn't help for us to solve the fundamental problem that we have in the country. And so I think that we must tread very cautiously with this. There are so many other people out there who are involved in Galamsey, even including some NDC guys who are involved in Galamsey. And we need to look at it from the broader perspective and not to make it look as if a certain NPP person is involved and so we have to witch hunt the person. It wouldn't help.
I understand the point you're making and I agree with you to a certain extent, but do you suggest that as far as legal processes are concerned, all of them should be done at once? That is not likely to happen, is it? Well, maybe you can contemplate that, Sweetie. Let's
very well done.
Yeah, gentlemen, none of you mentioned the game today between the Black Stars and the Super Eagles. Are you not watching the game today?
The Unity Cup.
Yeah. Dr. Gomez, are you not watching the game today?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I'll hear the results after the match.
You and I
As for
both.
Black Star, I've told you, these days I want to play safe. So when they are playing, I want to hear the results afterwards. Watching it, you need a lot of courage. And
I thought they restored that confidence in us again. I mean, this year, they're doing well, aren't they? Well,
at least we do know that I think some 6 players are not going to be available. So that also makes it a bit difficult to. But I mean, when it's Ghana, Nigeria, it doesn't matter who is in form, who is not in form. It's always Buga. Let's see how it goes.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. So one story in the Daily Graphic, and then I'll move on to, I think, the Accra Times. I have 2 papers today. So Movenpick Ambassador Hotel, Accra, appoints its first Ghanaian general manager. I think this is newsworthy. Movenpick Ambassador Hotel, Ghana's leading international 5-star hotel, has appointed Mr. Isaac Okpotieje as its first Ghanaian general manager, marking a significant milestone. Now, this hotel has been open since 2011, I think. And so if it's the first time that we have a Ghanaian general manager, thumbs up to the gentleman. On the Accra Times newspaper, Backbane cautions MPs do not mistake privileges for immunity. Impunity. We've dealt with that story already. Ayariga salutes head of committees, tasked them to submit detailed reports on their recess activities. Minority calls on Ghanaians muster courage to challenge constitutional infractions. So I'm just going to read the headlines in all the papers. And when I come to you, which of them you're interested in, you can reflect on, I think at most 2, so that we get the conversation going. Muster courage to challenge constitutional infractions. That is Deputy Minority Leader Honorable Patricia PJ tasking members of Parliament to ensure that the second meeting of the 9th Parliament be a turning point, not a talking point. Ayariga salutes heads of committees, tasks them to submit detailed reports on recess activities, and he has described the recent recess period as highly productive, noting that nearly all House committees conducted their oversight responsibilities. MCE tours Akachi Market, calls for immediate sanitation and structural improvement. AGI pushes renewable energy for industrial sustainability. And the Association of Ghana Industries is promoting the use of renewable energy to support cost-effective industrial production and drive sustainable economic development. National Day of Thanksgiving will usher in Ghana's transformative era local government minister. And tackling floods in Ghana requires protecting green spaces, integrated spatial planning. Trump says Putin has, quote, gone absolutely crazy, considering more sanctions on Russia. I'll leave it there. Could Nigeria's careful ethnic balancing act be under threat? It's an editorial. You want to pick a copy of the paper for yourself and read it. And rare antelope captured on camera, as experts say under 100 exist. Boxing promoter Bruce Kujo declares intention to contest GBA presidential position. Interesting. Mr. Ivan Bruce Kujo, the Chief Executive Officer of Kabik Promotions and Management, has announced his bid to contest for the Ghana Boxing Authority presidential position. All the best to him. Sometimes you don't always have to win. This is an editorial, Samini saying, and Miss G as well. And on the last page, sports stakeholders should be interested in mitigating the effects of climate change, according to Kofi Adams. And lastly, I have played more European finals in 7 years than Turkey in history. Mourinho jabs. These stories are coming from the Accra Times newspaper. And Dr. Kwamasa Asante, which of them piques your interest? You can reflect on 2.
I think we should, where the MP is urging us to challenge constitutional infractions. It's a good call. We support that. But sometimes I ask myself, people can urge us to do certain things, but you go into it to realize that it has no value. Sometimes they themselves, who are supposed to be the beneficiary of the whole process, are not part. They talk about the demonstration and all that, about the CJ. And with respect, I didn't see the CJ in the demonstration. I mean, yes, these things encourage us. We want to see everybody in there, and if that is an issue. But sometimes some of the things they also urge us on, you realize that has no place in politics and even in law. So we want to be very careful, much as, yes, we are prepared to defend the Constitution at all times, but sometimes the call becomes misplaced, and we will not honor that call.
All right. And I'm sorry, I said 2, but we have to do 1 each because our time has just run out. So let me give the baton now to Dr. Mohammed. Any of the stories pique your interest? 1, yeah.
1 is the AGI, Association of Ghana Industry, the use of renewable energy. I think that it is good that they begin to think outside the box to get additional energy mix. Now, rely on the national grid alone will not help them to reduce their cost of operation. So if they are now thinking of coming up with renewable energy, that's the best way to go. Now, I will urge them to do more biofuel and other related energy so that they don't also end up shoring up their costs, because some of the renewable energy packages are extremely expensive, and also disposal becomes quite dangerous, especially the use of batteries and other things.
Right.
So they should rather concentrate more on biofuel, and that can help to, minimize the cost of operation and also be able to increase their profit margins.
Thank you so much. Dr. Beidou, you have the final word. I mean, for my set of papers at least.
Yeah, very well. I will just touch briefly on the green spaces. Look, our environment, Accra, and most of our cities are very hot. Temperatures are very high because there are no green spaces. There are so many houses, lots of houses in Accra that you don't find any tree, being it edible or whatsoever. People are thinking of pavement, tiles, instead of looking at gardens and other things which could have help help with the greening of our environment. And so for me, we need to really consider green spaces in our spatial planning. World Environmental Day is coming very soon, next month, I think 5th June. People should take advantage, plant trees around your houses, and make sure your spaces are green, because it will help us to fight climate change. It will help us to have good air to breathe in. It will help us to sustain our environment. That's the little I want to touch on. Just be mindful about it, and let's have green spaces around.
Thank you, gentlemen. I shall wrap with the Chronicle newspaper with just one story. Cocoa smuggling business booms on Volta Lake. NIB Customs collaboration leads to arrest of offenders. And on page 3 of the paper, it says, the National Investigation Bureau in Volta region, in a daring operation, has successfully intercepted a tipper truck concealing 20 bags of cocoa beans bound for the Republic of Togo. According to a highly placed source at the NIB headquarters in Accra, who preferred anonymity, intelligence to the unit was to the effect that the cocoa beans were obtained from the eastern region, transported on the Volta Lake by outboard motor-propelled canoes, and discharged at Kwebe in the Volta region. Subsequently, the tipper truck went to load the cocoa and was heading towards Ho and subsequently to Honuta, where it would have crossed the border to enter the neighboring Francophone West African state, Togo. I'll give you 30 seconds, in fact, 20 seconds each, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Dr. Beidou.
Yes, Ben, cocoa smuggling is a big issue. All our borders, from the east, the west, cocoa smuggling is been an issue for some time now.
Right.
Look, the problem is that the incentives out there in terms of pricing is good. And so as far as the incentives are good, they will smuggle it out there so that they can get good prices.
There have been a number of increments locally, have there not?
Yes,
even comparatively to Côte d'Ivoire.
Exactly. So that we can have good prices. When you have good prices, there'll be no motivation for the farmers or those involved to smuggle the good outside the country.
All right, thank you. Dr. Hassan Asante.
I think Cocoa Board must set up and work these things so that we deal with this issue once and for all. I know Randy, I have trust in him. He will work out and make sure that we deal with this. Recently, he touched on problems with Cocoa Board. I was so surprised.
Right.
But that is another conversation for another day. We urge him to do the best, because this is an organization that we can get a lot from. So we can't watch it go down.
Right.
And I trust him. He must live up to expectation.
Indeed. And Cocoa Board has also been talking about missing containers. So I guess it's saga upon saga. Dr. Mohammed, you have the final word. 20 seconds.
Well, it's just about ensuring that we have the law of one price. Whatever price it is in Côte d'Ivoire must also be in Ghana.
Right.
If we are able to do that, we are going to resolve the problem. After all, cocoa is our mainstay. So why don't you do that? Add value to it and get the maximum benefit out of it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, those who joined us for this conversation. Dr. Kwame Asante, he is head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, also a political scientist. Dr. Jabir Mohammed, senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School, and Dr. Pakwesi Eduafo Abedu. He's a development analyst. Gentlemen, we salute you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Right. Sweetie?
Yes, that wraps up the news review segment on the AM show, but you know, there's still more coming your way right here. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the AM show. Now let's bring you Climate Focus. Remember, the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, providing quality housing at affordable cost with flexible payment option. Now, in today's Climate Focus series, a third-generation commercial users of charcoal at one of Accra's biggest eateries have shared a heartwarming story of their willingness to abandon charcoal and gully migrate liquefied petroleum gas. That is, they want to migrate to LPG. And this is coming at a time where there are rising concerns over the health and environmental well-being, or what comes with the continuous use of charcoal and firewood for cooking. So for these two sisters, a government commitment to making LPG accessible is all they need to transition, regardless of the cost. And James Aveji has the rest of the story.
The German Agency for International Cooperation, GIZ, in 2023 revealed in a research that firewood and charcoal contribute at least 39% of source of energy for cooking in Ghana. This means about 100,000 football fields of trees are cleared every year for firewood and charcoal. To find out more, I visit a choba here in Accra to hear their story. I meet Nanama and her sister Sandra, a third-generation owners of the popular heavy-do choba.
49 years ago, we started with firewood. That's what we started with. And then we moved from firewood to charcoal. And the reason was firewood produces a lot of heat and then a lot of smoke. And working around the environment is very hot because of the excessive heat the firewood produces. So we moved to charcoal. So when we moved to charcoal and then technology also came in and technology was growing, we moved from charcoal to gas. So we stopped charcoal and moved to gas.
So why did they switch back to charcoal after finding comfort in LPG?
I think 10 years back we had some gas shortage in Ghana. So we bought 2 bags of charcoal and we used it to cook. So after cooking, we realized that the cost of using the charcoal was a bit okay than the gas. So that was when we introduced the use of the gas and the charcoal at the same time. Yes.
A decade-owned energy and green transition minister John Abdullah Jinapo reveals another LPG shortage in Ghana 4 years ago worsened the situation.
2021 and 2022, because LPG prices increased by over 80%, the consumption of LPG declined by about 12%. And then the consumption of wood fuels also increased astronomically. And so it's not just an economic burden, it's also a health issue, it's also an environmental issue.
The problem, however, is beyond cost. The persistent allegation of cheating at the refilling stations is also another challenge to customers.
We had some challenges. One, sometimes when you go to the gas station to fill the cylinders, it doesn't get full, but you pay the full amount. We've used it for some time, and then we know when we fill this kg, it can do this and this and this. But sometimes when you come, maybe you have like 12.5 kg, you know you can cook about 3 pots of cassava, but you end up cooking 1.5 and it's finished. And you're like, why? What's wrong? What's going on?
By now, Nanama, her sister, and their mother had taken a business decision: minimize the use of LPG and increase charcoal. As a result, they take delivery of hundreds of bags of charcoal every week, especially from the eastern region.
This is how the pot is, and so this is cassava and plantain in here. So in a day we can use 1 bag to cook 3 of this, depending on how good or the quality of the charcoal, and then the quality of the cassava. Some of the cassavas too, they are very hard, so you need more charcoal to help it cook. So it depends on the quality of the cassava and then the quality of the charcoal. So we have 12.5 kg, which cost us 260 cedis. And with this, it takes us 2 days. So every 2 days, we need to fill it and use.
But you use it for what?
For just warming the food. We don't use it to cook, to just keep the soup warm. And with this, it costs 500 and something, so I'm not that sure. And it takes us for a week just to warm the food. But if we are to use this to cook the pot of cassava, you can do 3 to 4 on an average. depending on how soft or how hard the cassava is. But when the cassava is hard, we can do 3. Yes, 3. But like a normal cassava, we can do 3 to 4 on an average.
Which would mean that you are using more than 500 cedis to cook just 3 to 4 pots of cassava.
Which 1.5 bag of charcoal can do that.
Which will be like 180 cedis.
Yes.
If a bag is 120.
120, yes, 180 cedis. So you see the cost involved. That's why we are falling on the charcoal.
It has emerged, however, that this is not only posing threats to the environment, but to the human health as well. Speaking at a National Clean Cooking Policy Framework workshop in Accra in March 2025, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority in charge of technical, Dr. Sheila Ado, revealed that the charcoal and firewood usage kills at least 17,000 Ghanaians every year.
The IEA estimates that this figure at 3.7 million annually, with women and children most at risk, people who are usually exposed to health challenges. In Ghana, it is projected that unclean cooking methods claim about 17,000 lives annually, including 2,000 children.
I put this concern to Nanama for her reaction.
Well, okay, if they are going to put in good measures to control the price of gas, and then when we also go to the gas station to fill our cylinders, if they'll be truthful to us and then give us what we've paid for, I think we would also stop the use of charcoal and then focus on the gas. But if this is the case that I feel the charcoal is more beneficial to me than the gas, I would go for the charcoal every time.
Regardless what
the government or what whoever may say about, yes.
Even if it poses health threat to you?
Well, with health threat, I understand you perfectly, but as I said, the gas is too expensive. I end here every week. We fill our gas cylinders like 10,000 Ghana cedis every week. Yes.
10,000 cedis?
Yes, every week.
For now, Nanama, on behalf of her sister, has pledged willingness to go back to operate fully on LPG regardless the cost, but on condition that government will revamp the cylinder recirculation model to make access more convenient.
The availability, we don't want any shortage, because when there's no gas, I still have to fall on charcoal to produce my food. And then 3, at first we used to have big cars coming around to fill the gas for us, but now they don't come again.
The recirculation thing.
Yes, you have to hire a car, put in your cylinders, go to the station, join a queue to fill up your gas, and you come back. It's so stressful. If you don't get a car, you can't go and fill your gas. So if that initiative is reintroduced, I think it's going to help us, and then it's going to promote our work too.
So you are sure if government is able to do all of this, at least you are ready to sacrifice the use of the charcoal and go for the gas if it will give you the full convenience?
Oh, yes, if government should listen to our cry, why not? We would stop the use of charcoal due to the other health hazards it has on us. We'll stop using it and then we'll fall on the gas to produce our food.
The ball is now in government court to take a decisive policy decision to win the hearts of Ghanaians to embrace LPG, to protect the environment against climate change. James Savage's report for Joy News.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
Attacking the police pickup trucks. Just before that, we saw
a tricycle coming in. The tricycle had some young men who were also brought in as part of the support and solidarity to Chairman Wontumi, who is in the building right now and is being, whether he's being interrogated or he's being detained, we are unable to confirm that. So some party supporters have concerns about the fact that has been reported, but as a fact, and then we will not back down on that. The fact is that, and you find it in the video that we sent, and that has been played earlier, about the attack on the pickup truck by the some of the supporters of the New Patriotic Party who have gathered here to show solidarity with the Ashanti regional chairman of the New Patriotic Party, who have been detained here at the police CID headquarters. So the party supporters are clearly not happy with the reportage that has gone on. So some clarity will be given here.
My brother, did you just make a statement that we are attacking the police?
No, we reported what just happened with regards to the arrival.
Hold on.
Calm down.
Hold on.
You are live on air.
My brother. You see, we keep saying that in this country, if there will be war in this country, it will come from the journalists. We've been here with you since you in person. Yes. In fact, the security people were attacking you. They say you don't have an ID card. They were forcing you to delete.
So right now, I've been assaulted. I've been assaulted with this pebble, and the assault is captured live on television. I have been assaulted by individuals. Turn the camera. Turn the camera. It's captured live on television. You are live on television. Can I speak? You can speak. Let me register it. I'll come back to you. So we are putting it on record that this assault has been captured live on television. I have been assaulted by some of the individuals here, and I'm not just saying it. It's captured right on television. You want to address it?
Let me clarify this. We've been here with you since 4 p.m. and we've had
assaulted already.
Let me finish. We've been here with you in person. I remember the police and the military and the Yoko officers, they were attacking you. They asked you to delete every footage you took. Is it wrong or right? Were you asked to delete pictures on your phone? Yes or wrong? Correct. What did we do? We came and we stood behind you.
Exactly.
Why are you now reporting that we are rather attacking the police?
I was reporting the fact as has been observed by myself.
So did you report?
That does not warrant an assault on my person.
So did you report to the public that the police or the Yoko staff were attacking you and they took your phone and they made sure you deleted every footage you took? Did you report?
So they made sure I deleted the files. I have reported that.
Have you reported?
Exactly.
So it's on record. Joy News.
I have reported it.
I can get it on your portal.
I said I have reported.
So it's on your portal. When I go on your portal, I'll get this portal.
Let's not go. Let's not engage in this. The unfortunate fact is that you observed an assault on my person. So far, you have not said anything in that regard.
The camera, no.
Which is the fact.
The camera has been on us. The camera can easily take every footage, okay? I stop people from attacking you. It is clear.
They had already assaulted me. And the camera person...
Talk to me. Let me apologize to you. We will not attack you. We are not here to have any quarrel with anybody in the media. Rather, we are working together. You have been here all afternoon, and we have been working together. And you have seen that we have conducted ourselves very, very well here. I'm sure that one you can say. It is rather the security people who have come to make this place make it as it is now. So first of all, let me apologize to you as the National Youth Organizer that any assault on you is regrettable. It is not any intentional act to attack you. So please, my brother, let's continue to work together. Those who are misbehaving are rather those in authority. They are those showing the misbehavior, and they have misbehaved towards you this afternoon. And this evening, you have seen how they have handled citizens of this country. So I beg you, please, take the apology from me, and let's move from where we are, that we have been working together. Nobody will attack you here. Nobody will attack you.
Unfortunately, that has already been done and has been captured on camera. I take that.
Understand what exactly is happening there.
I'm even surprised whether he's here, because he hasn't received any formal invitation from Yoko. You will recall that about 3-4 days ago they attempted arresting him in his house. Whether he was there or not, nobody knows. And there has been instances where people's houses has been raided by so-called tax. That's how I see it, because there's somebody who is a lawful citizen of this country who has never run from any invitation whatsoever. And you saw what happened in Kumasi. He had written to the CID that invited him that he will appear before them. He went there yesterday, was asked to come back today. And after he had lawfully appeared before them, then Yoko, who has never written to him, as far as we know, accosted and adopted him. That's how I see, because you see, this is a government, just as President Mahama said, they have a history of militarism. They have a history of adopting and killing people. And this is just an offshoot of the PNDC. And that's exactly what we are saying, because how on earth?
Mr. Bodu, Yoko is a body that your government also worked with. You cannot say it's militarizing our democracy, can you?
Yoko is a body that we work with. Can you give an example where somebody was invited by another agency, security or investigative agency, then Yoko waited around 4 or 5 and just whisked the person away, and we don't know whether he's here or not. You understand? Because I don't think that it is right for us to continue this way. And this path that we are traversing is a path that will not have an end. Because the NDC or John Mahama is not going to stay in power forever. And if this is how they are going to treat their political opponents, I don't think that Wontumi, with all the allegations they are saying, is the only person in this country who may have involved himself in whatever, assuming it is true. Why haven't they arrested all of them? We were aware that there were people who were even under investigation and before the law courts. This government decided to set all of them free. So if you can set Opunu and Co free, why not wait and go through proper processes in order to avoid all this noise that we are seeing? What do they want to achieve? If not for political persecution, what else?
So what message are you sending government with you and your members amassing here?
I think that governments have a responsibility and an obligation to implement court decisions. Court of this land has ruled that Ablekuma are not constituency elections. Security agencies should provide security for Electoral Commission to declare the results. 5 months after the election, we are still there. We are incapable. Our security is so weak, such that they cannot and they have not been able to declare Ablekuma not constituency elections.
And so in there you saw former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, John Mahama, lamenting the situation earlier. And I just want to salute Lateef Idris for his composure while he did that. as a journalist, is one of the tricky situations to be in when you have literally a mob, reaching out to you. I will not say attack, reaching out to you from all angles. And if you remember, Lateef Idrisu has been assaulted before at the police headquarters, a matter that is in court. So it gave me chills watching him out there, and I salute him for his composure. Joining us in the studio, we have Nana J. Bafwewa. He's a lawyer and member of parliament for Menchia South. We also have Hamza Suhini. He's a lawyer as well, and with the NDC's communications directorate. Of course, Sweetie Abochi is right here with me. For the sake of certain technicalities, I'm going to handle quite a bit of this start of the conversation, and Sweetie Abochi will take it all the way from there. Gentlemen, on the back of what you've seen, let me start with you, Nana J. Bafwewa. What would you make of the different angles? First, Iyoko taking on Wontumi, then the crowd and the vandalism of some vehicles belonging to the state, and then the reaction back and forth. Iyoko supposedly also had to delete some items from Lateef's phone and all of that. But then the matter of assault, you know better than I do. What's your reflection?
Under the law has the power.
Okay, Nana, we have to do something technically, so please hold for me. Let me come to Hamza. Quick reflections on these matters.
Good morning to you, and of course, my honorable in the studio and our cherished viewers out there. For me, I think that it begs the question whether, as a republic, we are actually willing and ready to allow our processes to work. Because this is not the first time this is happening in relation to the vandalism at the Iyoko headquarters. And it is difficult for you to more or less accuse one political party. I think that has been characteristic of our political processes anytime there's a change in government. And for us, this is an opportunity for us to change and reset the country as we promised in the last election. So these acts undoubtedly are condemnable. I only hope that the authorities that are at the helm of affairs will do or will take the necessary action to ensure that they are not intimidated in any way by acts of this nature when it comes to issues of accountability and staying true to the mandate of their establishing acts. So it is important. But vandal attacks on journalists, again, this is becoming one too many. Unfortunately here, I have to appear a little bit partisan. Because remember, on this same table, I've had cause to complain about the conduct of the NPP National Vice Chairman, for that matter, when he was seen on live TV throwing away a microphone belonging to another media house. And I indicated that if we do not act swiftly, it might escalate to something different. Yesterday, what we witnessed was simply because of our failure to condemn the initial acts of the NPP in their at the headquarters of that particular. When the National Vice Chairman decided to violently throw out a media house and their microphones on the table when they were addressing the press, no sane-minded person within the New Patriotic Party condemned that action. The Ghana Journalists Association was quiet. Reputable media houses in this country remain quiet. So why are you surprised that Lateef has been attacked again? Because they were emboldened.
Isn't that a bit of a stretch to say?
It is not, because
someone may have acted in excess and the microphone said this media house, all of that.
No, but you see, I made that point on this platform that if we are not careful, at the next incident, there's going to be personal assault or direct assault. That is what we are discussing today. The gentleman has been assaulted. So it is important for political parties, and you see, it is not just the National New Patriotic Party alone. Even the National Democratic Congress, there must be laws, punitive measures directed at them when many of these things occur.
Please bring me back
within their premises.
Let's go to the substantive. Let's go to the substantive issue of. Let's go to the substantive issue of Wontumi, which is what started this entire discussion.
I think that
when it comes to his arrest, how do you justify it? I mean, on the back of what we've seen, was it justified?
I think so.
Why?
First of all, I am yet to come across any breach of the law as far as the arrest is concerned.
Why was
Iyoko, I'm told that it has to do with his transactions with Exim Bank, Ghana Exim Bank. And I'm sure that you know that under the laws, the Iyoko is empowered to carry out such investigations. And so the police initially had to deal with issues related to illegal mining Akonta and Akonta Company Limited, of which he was another interested party. Now, what we are told is that Iyoko on his own is investigating his relationship with the Ghana Exim Bank as an individual. And I am sure, and I'm convinced, seated here, that Iyoko is clothed with the legal authority to carry out such investigations.
I thought you were about to say you were clothed with information to the pub or to the fact that he is culpable or he is...
No. If you are being investigated, investigations does not mean that you are culpable as far as the allegations are concerned.
But the
what the state agency is simply doing...
There had been no invitation. Could this have been conducted in a different way, in inviting maybe Wontumi to appear for some conversations to happen?
It depends on the information that is available to Iyoko. We do not know for certain whether indeed there were initial attempts to reach him or not. That is not available to the public. And so until we hear officially from Iyoko, it will be erroneous for you to conclude that the arrest was needless.
Before I go to Nanaje Bafwewa, I just want to find out from you. Iyoko, per what was reported, asking our reporter to delete certain files and all of that, why do you think that came about and what justifies it?
I monitored your live coverage of the incident last night, but unfortunately, it is difficult for you to authenticate the assertion by Latif. But in any case, if that is the case...
It wasn't an assertion only by Latif corroborated
an MPP officials also corroborated that.
Actually made mention of it.
For me, like I indicated, I am for anything in favor of media freedoms. And so I would also be interested in knowing why Iyoko demanded that such footages be taken down.
It is something you're going to push for?
Why not?
Will you get into the matter?
I will definitely get into the matter. And I can assure you that I'll try to get in touch with the officials that be, especially those who are in charge of the investigation, and find out what the real issue, specifically with regards to the deletion of the footages. But you know that there are some regulations when it comes to even taking pictures at certain public places. So
that's why we need to get to the bottom of it. Nanaje Bafwewa, journalism is not a crime. And, it's becoming really tough in some of these instances. I don't know. I saw you at a point looking at your phone. If you saw the footage, I think you would have felt very uncomfortable if you were in the midst of that crowd. But based on the earlier question, everything you've seen, what do you make of it?
I think all these things were avoidable. Every bit of it was avoidable. It was avoidable the manner in which Chairman Wontumi was arrested. The consequence of it is the crowd that massed up in front of Iyoko. It's completely avoidable.
Why do we have to do those things anyway? Those things. You remember with when Adenta Kumi was. And then the General Secretary said, rush to this place and all of that. Can we as politicians stop doing that? Because when Malik Basintali was telling people during the elections, rush here, we spoke about that. Why do we like this thing? Rush here, go there. What do the people do when they get there?
Well, I think that if we begin to change the way we do things, reactions would also change. Actions and reactions are different, but equal, as they put it in science. We need to just change the way we do things. When you don't change the way you do things, it comes across as witch hunting. And the very moment politicians think one of them is being witch hunted, they are likely to come to the defense of the other. And so we just have to change the way we do things. We are over 60 years as a nation, very civilized. We need to begin to make sure we build institutions of state and ensure that they have a certain set of culture which is in conformity with the rule of law. Going to arrest Chairman Wontumi in the manner which happened will not make him guilty.
Right.
Right? Your job, Iyoko, is set up by an act of parliament. Its mandate is set out. And it's reasonably expected that whatever they do, they set out to achieve the object of their mandate, which is provided for under the law. And so if you arrest a person in Rambo style and you end up not achieving your object, you have wasted state resources. If you go quietly, invite him, and then he goes along with you in compliance with your set protocols, and you achieve your object, then you will be celebrated, and people would say you have met or have...
I've heard certain things. I just want you to corroborate. Was Chairman Wontumi invited at any point, or was this the first instance?
Till date.
That was where they...
Till date, Yoko hasn't been able to communicate anything to us. It's been 24 hours.
Whether there had been an invitation.
Exactly. They've not been able to communicate anything to us. In the absence of that, the default is that there was no invitation. And the first time they came in, they interacted with him was in the manner in which they arrested him. Now, my brother said he's been investigated for a loan that he took from Exim Bank. I'm happy.
I mean, there have been other issues mentioned. So.
Well, but he said that primarily is what he made reference to as the basis for the arrest.
But I'm happy it's only one of the issues.
But so far we don't know. But that is what we know. But he's a lawyer, and he's supposed to know better that you don't. When you take a loan, it is not a crime.
Right.
If you default, civil proceedings are instituted for recovery purposes, right? And so I don't think that if this, in fact, is the reason, the sole reason why he's been arrested, then, of course, Yoko is conducting itself in a manner which is unlawful. And we need to ensure that, Benjamin, we encourage state institutions to develop themselves in a manner which is in conformity with, best practices.
Regardless of everything that has happened so far, right?
Yeah.
I have said here that if I broke the law on any count, I wouldn't invite me. Don't come to my home. And, I have said that on this platform. But regardless of everything that has happened, if it turns out that there has been any breaking of the law on the part of Chairman Wontumi, would the MPP allow the processes to go forward without this bit about rush here, mass up, and all of that, if the wrong things have been done?
Communication is key. When I started, I mentioned that, for instance, if you had gone to invite him and said you are keeping him for the purposes of investigation, in accordance with the Constitution, you put out your communication, everybody will be aware that he's been handled in accordance with law. At that point, if anybody goes to mass up, then it would seem as though we are being unreasonable. But in the manner in which he was arrested, when you take the view that it is contrary to law, then it becomes very difficult for you to say that people should not go to his aid.
Right.
Let's make sure that we comply with due process of law. This thing hasn't helped. When you are building the democracy, it is not only the success of an election that we should look forward to. We should look forward to building institutions of state and their identity, cultural identity. Like elsewhere, we are not looking for a temporary situation. We are looking for a long-lasting situation. Many years ago, anytime government changed, you will notice that BNI was very busy. When the MPP took over, they pursued certain reforms with the view of making BNI what it is, an intelligence gathering agency.
Right.
Growing it, right, to the stature of top intelligence gathering agencies in the world. Okay? Today, BNI has been brought back to the level of investigating political actors.
And now we call it the NIB. Wow.
The NIB.
Okay, so let me just do this. Indulge me for the next 2 minutes. I just want to concretely just summarize this with you, and Sweetie Abachi will take it from there. Since you are talking about reforms and all of these things, you speak about long-lasting change. Let me just tease your brains on this, and finally, I'll start with you, Hamza. I know Mahama Yariga has spoken to the issue of the CJ, which is the next issue that Sweetie will definitely get into, Wontumi and then the CJ. But on the CJ's issue, what are the problems you see? Is she being treated fairly, per everything you know? And if so, why is Mahama Yariga now saying that you are going to look at it in Parliament and even create more comprehensive processes so that moving into the future, certain changes can be brought to bear? Quick thoughts on that. Quick thoughts from you.
Yes, Ben, before I even get into that, I think that it is proper for me to respond to certain...
Briefly.
Yes, briefly. You see, like my brother indicated, he's a lawyer of reputable standing for that matter. And so it is a dangerous proposition to make when you say that if you consider arrest dramatic or unwarranted, mob action in solidarity or in support is something that ought to be encouraged. Absolutely not. That is why our law courts...
I don't think he was saying that it ought to be encouraged.
You see, he said that you cannot blame people when they amass to support such a person.
Hold for me,
please.
No, hold. Do you condemn what happened, what the MPP supporters did? Do you condemn it? The action, and let me be specific, you're a lawyer, the action of shoving the journalist, someone tapping his head or hitting him and all of that.
All these things you are telling me.
Right.
I wasn't there.
All these things you saw.
No, but how many minutes of the action have you covered?
Yes, but you saw it live
my
on
brother.
TV. What do those actions in law amount to?
My brother, please. I am very careful not to comment on things that I have witnessed myself.
Okay, so you're not
reason is that we know that reports have always or sometimes wrong. What we see or what is reported sometimes are not what they are.
Thank you.
You see, but interestingly, my brother is relying on reports to conclude that the arrest of Chairman Wontumi,
I did an analysis,
was unnecessary.
Said that, no,
you let him make
please. You could have done the same analysis when it comes in the same matter of Latif. But you see, like I indicated, it is a dangerous proposition to make when you seek to suggest that the mobbing up of people simply is justified simply because, what's the name, you think that Wontumi was not treated fairly. The law courts are there. Right. If you need to question Iyoko's power of arrest, as a legal practitioner, the remedy available to you is to take advantage of our law courts and question him. Do not sit here and encourage people. Then secondly, he made a point that loan is a civil matter. I never on this platform used the word loan, and it was for good reason. I said that interactions or certain engagements with Exim Bank, you and I, we do not know, in the words of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, we do not know the contents of the investigations. And so, for all you know, there are criminal elements. Absolutely.
Okay.
For all you know, there are criminal elements to that particular investigation.
You don't know that for a fact.
Why is it that I don't know? That's why I'm telling. That is why Iyoko is carrying out the investigation.
Okay.
Why is it that in the case of Jakpa and Atufosen, Jakpa was part of the defendants in that particular case?
Okay. So
was that not a private business transaction with government?
Hold your horses.
So we must
let the law take its course.
Yes, the law will take its course. But Ben, I think that it is important for us to let the NPP and our colleagues in there understand that the laws of our country must apply to all of us equally.
Okay.
They must not have any form of special treatment, and they must not be advocating for same.
The CJ is being treated
when it comes to the NPP, they feel that certain things should apply to them.
Right.
But when it comes to the ordinary Ghanaian and many of us in other different political parties, a certain set of rules should also be applicable to us. That must be condemned.
Treated fairly in what allegations she's made now? She's in court herself on this matter. And then again, the reaction, I don't know whether to call it a reaction, but what Mahama Yariga has said about future processes to ensure that this act is more, I don't know whether to say sanitized. What's your reflection on that?
I think that for many of us, we are yet to be convinced that what the CJ is going through is an act that can be termed confidently as unconstitutional or a breach of the laws of the Republic of Ghana.
Is that someone who has committed even treason will not be treated the way she
I have read through many of the epistles written by celebrated lawyers in this country. And I'm yet to come to terms with the fact where it is strongly canvassed that the processes are unfair. I'm yet to come to that conclusion. You see, Ben, I think that this point has been belabored.
Right.
The woman is being taken through a constitutional process. The constitutional process has not been questioned.
Right.
So if you are now seeking to say because President Mahama, in consultation with the Council of State, acting in a way committed to the spirit and letter of Article 146 of our Constitution, is engaged in an act undermining that very Constitution, the onus is on you to demonstrate same. What President Mahama has done...
Beyond sticking to the Constitution, apart from that, other actions that may take place, can they not be manipulated in a way to...
But you see, again, beautifully, that is why we have the law courts. And for me, when I was even looking at the application of the Chief Justice suspended, I asked myself whether there is a need for us to actually even entertain the possibility of questioning the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in the matter.
Right.
Because reading it, substantively, she is talking about human rights, her fundamental human rights. And we all know that under our Constitution, when it comes to issues of human rights, the appropriate forum, the High Court. So I have been thinking and I've been trying to understand the basis of that particular application.
Right.
And I think that we need to expand the engagements to include that ambit of the law, whether indeed what she has before the Supreme Court constitute as a matter calling for interpretation.
Finally,
on
that same point.
Ben, why are you
like I mentioned to you
me?
earlier, Sweetie will come back to these same issues, so don't you worry. Nanaje Bafuewa, final take on that.
The statement by the majority leader yesterday in Parliament that regulations, a set of regulations were going to be introduced, not an act, regulations were going to be introduced to govern the removal processes of the Chief Justice, has strengthened my position that, first and foremost, Article 146 of the Constitution cannot be operationalized without regulations. And I will tell you why. My brother, take your phone. One of the grounds, take your phone. One of the grounds for the removal of the Chief Justice is stated misbehavior. Google what the definition of a stated misbehavior is.
Right.
It's not defined by any law. It is not defined by any law. How do you go through any proceedings not knowing the definition of what offense that you have committed? Because you see, ahead of time, everybody ought to know that this is what constitutes stated misbehavior. And so in going through the proceedings, you know that this is where I am said to have erred. And therefore, the burden on whoever has accused me of one offense or the other is to prove A, B, C, D. And in my defense, this is what I also did to demonstrate. But as we sit here, what constitutes stated misbehavior is not known by any law. It's not known by any law. Secondly, how do you go through? How? In the absence of a specific definition for stated misbehavior, how was the prima facie even established? What were the elements for the consideration of the President and the Council of State? What went into that? Because it is not defined by any law. It is not defined by any law.
So what was the Chief Justice responding to? You know, she responded
that
to
is,
some... So if she didn't understand that there was some stated misbehavior, for which reasons that those petitions were raised against her, why didn't she question that from the onset, but went ahead to respond to these petitions?
I'm not her lawyer, but I can imagine that she was responding to the allegations that have been made against her. You see, for every charge or offense, even in employer-employee relationship, there is always a definition. take your employee manual, take the employee manual of of Joy FM, multimedia, and you will discover, right, the very things which are deemed to be an infraction, for which reason you may, right, be held, or you may be hauled to a disciplinary hearing. When you take even your employee manual, you discover that there's a definition for all the things that may result in you having to be subjected to disciplinary proceedings. Okay? And so that is how it works. You say that somebody may be removed, a judge of the Superior Court or the Chief Justice may be removed for stated misbehavior. I ought to know which of my actions or inactions will be deemed to be stated misbehavior. As we speak, there's no definition.
You're trying to draw a line between allegations as raised in the petition, which, determine the prima facie case that, consequently brought us here, where we are probing the case to see exactly what happened. So if it turns out that through the investigations ongoing, through the findings of the committee, they actually come up with this stated misbehavior, then do you have a case?
No, wait. That is where the
right now, there are allegations that she's done something wrong, for which reason we are probing the matter. And you are saying now that we haven't clearly defined what stated misbehavior is. But the Council of State established a prima facie case against the Chief Justice, for which reason we are probing the matter. So will we not eventually arrive at this stated misbehavior?
So you have to appreciate this, sweetie. When you look at the jurisprudence of the Republic of Ghana, a person can never be held accountable or charged for an offense which ahead of time that person doesn't know exists. Wait. And the ingredients of it, that is the law. That is the law. There's no law in this country that can make you accountable for something which you don't know of.
At this point in the process, can you still make this argument? Fine,
are you going to allow me?
Yeah, go ahead.
The interruptions, very respectfully, are not helping. That is why I started from the outset that in the absence of a regulation, you cannot operationalize Article 146. The regulation would define for you what amounts to stated misbehavior, so that ahead of time, I know which aspects of my conduct would be deemed to be stated misbehavior. It is not post my conduct, then somebody comes to say that this conduct is stated misbehavior. Do you know what that is? That can lead to arbitrariness, which is the exact thing the Constitution frowns upon. The Constitution requires transparency, accountability, and to prevent arbitrariness, where somebody can look at your face and say that I don't like you. And so this conduct of yours amounts to stated misbehavior. This is what the Constitution frowns on. My point is that in the absence of a clear, advanced definition of what amounts to stated misbehavior, it is difficult to establish a prima facie case. That would also be an arbitrary exercise, because then it is post the person's action that you are now coming to decide that this conduct is stated misbehavior and that conduct is not. That is not what our law, right? That is not what our law envisaged. And so when you look, for instance, under Article 19, Clause 11 of our Constitution, it tells you that no person can be prosecuted, can be convicted for an offense unless the offense is provided for by law and the punishment for same is also stated by law. Okay? Now, when this whole exercise started, we're told that the president was going according to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. There was no constitutional infraction. Supposedly, the implication of it is that Article 146 is sufficient. If it is sufficient, why the need for a regulation now? Okay, the admission that there's the need for a regulation in and of itself is an implicit admission that Article 146 is insufficient. Article 146 without a regulation
Are you opposed to these new reforms, legislative reforms that
I have
Mahama
always championed the need for a regulation. That has been my position from day one. And that for me is progress. The sad thing, however, is that when you are now making this admission, there is somebody who is going through that injustice, right? And so you are going to take that step to protect those who are not going through that process. But what about the Chief Justice?
You know,
one man's injustice is another man's injustice.
In a totally unrelated matter, but just to make a point, when the case of the chairman of the board of, on the board of Bank of Ghana, and the issues that came out that he has two positions that contradict the position, he can no longer do his oversight power because he was a member of the Financial Committee in Parliament and sitting on the board. We spoke to Stika, and he said that it didn't really have to, it didn't mean that they should remove him right now, but they should begin the processes to, you know, fill those loopholes in the Constitution. You are saying now that the introduction of these new reforms, legislative reforms that was introduced yesterday by Mahama Yariga, in itself is an admission that there's something wrong with the processes that they already started, but somebody is going through that. So at what point do we start to overhaul all this, and where do we start from? Briefly, and then I have to go back to Hamza.
I think you are very respectfully comparing apples with oranges.
No, there was the same narrative from your party, opposition. He said that it doesn't matter. We can't remove him right now, but let's begin to start the process to, you know, fill the loopholes. Let me land. I listened to you. Let me land. He's saying the same thing that you are saying right now, but you are saying the opposite of it. You're saying that the process has been started already, and so if we are starting these reforms, it means that someone is already being treated unjustly before we are coming to seal these loopholes.
I made a point. If you were very respectfully listening to me, you'd have appreciated that my position is that you cannot operationalize Article 146 of the Constitution without a regulations.
All right.
In that regard, my position is that operationalizing it without a regulation is unconstitutional.
Okay.
It leads to arbitrariness.
Okay.
Because
so everything we are doing right now, in fact, the entire process of removing not removing, because let me just say, listening to the petitions.
I dare say that in the absence of a regulation to govern Article 146, the enforcement of it, and I want to be quoted right, because sometimes the captions, I dare say that in the absence of a regulations to govern Article 146, the enforcement of it is unconstitutional because it leads to arbitrariness. It leads to people now deciding what amounts to, for instance, stated misbehavior, which is undefined by any law. Then people will post people's action, now decide whether the action is stated misbehavior or not.
Points noted,
that is unconstitutional.
All right, Naneje, thank you. I'll circle back to you.
It flouts every principle that underpins our Constitution.
Your opponent here is saying that everything we're doing right now is unconstitutional. We are treating the Chief Justice unfairly. And this is on the back of the introduction of these legislative reforms that we are going to introduce. And just to quote, he says that President Mahama is determined to fast-track legislative reforms to strengthen our institutions of governance and further entrench our democracy. He's saying that he's not opposed to legislative reforms, but at this time, where there's already someone suffering for the same constitutional provisions that he's calling, arbitrary, that's where the problem is. What do you say to that?
I think, first of all, it is important to understand that government is a continuum. And so when the majority leader made the statement in Parliament, it was simply to manifest or make public the plan of action by the Attorney General's Department for the year. It does not necessarily mean that many of these bills would go through before the end of the year. That's what we need to appreciate. Secondly, per my checks, these are works that the NPP government started. And so it was forwarded by the Attorney General's Department to that of Parliament as a way of informing them the intended plan of action for the year. That is not to say that this government would not pay attention to many of these proposed legislations. It will be taken through the necessary process, and if need be, including that of the regulations that my brother is calling for, If there's the need for us to let it go through, why not? We'll let it go through. But you see,
but that means that the Chief Justice would have already been treated unfairly. And if it comes to it,
that is the beauty of the law. That is the beauty of the law. To quote Chief Justice Tokono, the law is the law.
Well,
you see, the beauty about it is, especially in respect of our Constitution, it's the living organism. It grows. And so the fact that the Constitution grows does not mean that many of those who were found culpable under the laws before it grew should be reversed. The likes of Charlotte Osei have gone under Article 146. Loretta Lamte and co. The same law. But I am struggling to appreciate the assertion by my brother that stated misbehavior is not defined under our laws.
Google it.
Please. You see I was quiet. Honorable, you see I was quiet. You see, it has been beautifully defined by our law courts. In the case of Loretta Lamte and the AG, the courts defined stated misbehavior. Unless, of course, you want to tell me that what comes out of the courts do not constitute part of the laws of this country. Same with Charlotte Osei, it was defined. Remember that even in their definition, it was concluded that infractions, procurement breaches, constituted stated misbehavior. Today, we have a Chief Justice that admitted publicly to breaching a travel policy of the judiciary. Public admission. And you think that we need another second definition of what constitutes stated misbehavior, and for which reason, without a regulation, we cannot operationalize Article 146.
Okay.
Come on, no, Sweetie, at least you gave him time, please.
I thought you were wrapping up. I mean, you are just responding to his...
Please. Go ahead. You gave him time. You see, so we must be careful not to go on that tangent. You can call for expanding the frontiers of Article 146. I am technically not against it. But as we stand now, as we sit, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that said provision. What you are simply trying to force on the Ghanaian people is your desires couched in a way to protect Madam Chief Justice Suspended Tokono. But you see, let us be honest for a bit. It is that it is difficult for us to define stated misbehavior. Why is my brother propounding this legal theories for? When you have a travel policy that regulates your conduct, when you have regulations that more or less prescribes what you need to do and what you need not to do, and you breach those policies.
Hold on. So does that not qualify as stated misbehavior? If you breach the provisions... No, I just want you to get responses to the questions you're posing.
I am not posing the questions to you.
I mean, define some of the provisions or, the regulations for this travel policy and all that. Is that not misbehavior? If the Chief Justice is paying per diem for her spouse and child on a private trip, is that not misbehavior?
If very respectfully.
Briefly, and I have to return. It is time. Yeah.
If I take a gun and shoot him right now, right, it's killing. If driving on the road, it will result in his death. If driving on the road, I knock him down, right, it will also result in his death. Okay? But one is murder and one is manslaughter. It is not for anything that the law always gives side definitions. And so if you come and say that because somebody did this, it is stated...
So it is not stated misbehavior. So that's what he's saying.
Ahead of time, you should know.
It's okay. It's okay.
If the law had not... If the law had not...
going to allow me
to get clarity on what
No, I don't need clarity from him because you see, it's clear that my brother is engaged in politics.
We have 2 minutes to move on to the next topic.
You see, again, it is important for us to appreciate that to accept that without a regulation, you cannot operationalize Article 146. It's an assertion that is strained to the law. Because I'm struggling to understand the constitutional or legal basis of such a claim. I have looked at Article 146. I do not see where it is stated. And I've looked at the entire Constitution. I am struggling to appreciate where it is stated that a regulation is needed to operationalize Article 146. If you are calling for us to expand the frontiers of the process, say so, but don't say that failure to have a regulation amounts to unconstitutional conduct, and for that matter, a way that would not make it possible to operationalize Article 146. We must make that distinction. But I heard him say that, no, without a regulation, you cannot operationalize Article 146. Where is it stated in our laws? Where is it stated in the Constitution? Absolutely nowhere. But if you are calling that having a regulation in place would make it easier, probable to interpret, to predict and understand, I would have no qualms or whatsoever with you. Make it, because I am for anything that expands the frontiers of our constitutional organism.
He's asked where it is stated in the law.
Do you have it?
Yes.
Yes, you can provide. You can provide. And secondly,
land on this point for me.
Okay, finally, I'll try and land on that point. Finally, you see, sweetie, when you listen to the New Patriotic Party and its spokespersons, you get the sense that everything is wrong with our law only when they are those at the receiving end. But when they are those applying it against other people, there's everything beautiful about the spirit and letter of our Constitution. And that double standards, that hypocrisy must be seen through. If you want us to develop this country together, my brother, we must do so in a way that reflects the true aspirations of the Ghanaian people, not our petty partisanship. It cannot be that when you are in power, the laws, especially Article 146, is all good and rosy to move with. And so you can apply it to the likes of Charlotte Osei and Paul Derry and the likes. But when you are out of power, and the same yardstick, the same standard, the same laws you spoke for years is applied against you, then all of a sudden, there's everything wrong with the legal architecture of our country.
Hamza.
And must be condemned.
In accordance to Article 144, Clause 2 of the 1992 Constitution, which empowers the President to appoint justices to the highest courts of the land, he has appointed. Yes, I'll give you your time, and then you can use a bit of it to respond. We have a number of issues to touch on, so we have to speed this up. And the Parliament, Speaker of Parliament has referred the President's appointment nominations to the Appointments Committee. I understand that minority has some concerns about that. You think these pack in the courts? What's going on there? Let's understand what you're saying. Feel free to use about a minute to reflect back on what
he said that I can say that we should pass a regulation to expand it so that there will be predictability. He used that word. That is the whole basis for Article 296 of the Constitution. That's it. You see, where there is no definition for the very grounds for which, or some of the grounds, at least two of the grounds, that the Superior Court judges may be removed, then you need a regulation, because somebody will be exercising a discretionary power that, in his opinion, this is stated misbehavior. This is not.
We are still on the judiciary, so let's move on to those 7 nominees to the Supreme Court. Yeah.
The power rests with the President to appoint Supreme Court judges. And this is what our brothers on the other side always misappreciated. They misappreciated the fact that under President Akufo-Addo, there were vacancies to be filled. Those vacancies could not be left for any other president to come and fill, because, very respectfully, you didn't like President Akufo-Addo. Or you thought that it was the MPP going to do it and was going to have the opportunity to appoint all the justices of the Supreme Court. Let's get it clear. During the first term of President Mahama, he had the opportunity. There were 2 vacancies. He filled them. When President Akufo-Addo came into office, by happenstance, he had the opportunity to fill or appoint a lot of the justices of the Supreme Court. That didn't make it wrong. And this is what they need to understand. President Mahama, in his second term, is appointing 7 justices of the Supreme Court. Let's ask ourselves, yes, the court may not have a ceiling. However, by convention, it has had a certain number. It has always had 15, between 14, 15, 16. At some point under President Akufo-Addo, it went to 18. And so now they think that they have to appoint more people to the Supreme Court. Clearly, it is consistent with a preconception, right? Which is that they always said that the court should be balanced. The court should be balanced. Now, when you say the court should be balanced, are we now supposed to take it that those you are now appointing are going to do the bidding of the NDC? This is where you create a prejudiced situation. Because as a practitioner of our courts, I know the judges that have been appointed, they are very distinguished judges. They are all very distinguished judges, very independent, to a large extent. Now you say that you have to balance the court. You have to balance the court because for you, the court is packed by President Akufo-Addo.
And that's the meaning you get from what's happening now.
That's the
You said that now they think, but they, you mean the NDC administration, they think they have to pack the court.
The meaning as to me, Bafu, who are sitting here, what do you get? No, what do you get? What do you get, very respectfully, when there has been a chorus of the court needs to be balanced because the MPP has taken over the court? What do you get?
But the thing is, I'm asking you the question now, and I want to understand. We are here for our audience. You want to understand what the meaning you get from what they're saying. That they want to put NDC judges in there. That's what you're saying.
No, what is a balance? What is a balance? What are they seeking to balance? If the conversation has always been that the court is packed with MPP judges, and so we have to balance it. What does it mean?
Okay. And you also said that the judges are people who are have distinct career or reputation.
Such commentary become unfair for these judges.
Okay.
That's the point I'm making.
Okay. So let me come to Hamza now. Hamza, it appears the NPP thinks you want to balance. By balance, you want to balance the number of NDC judges we have in the Supreme Court versus the number of NPP judges we have in the Supreme Court. That's why I asked if that's the meaning he gets from that. Of course, he admitted that it was under President Akufo-Addo's time that we saw the highest number going to 18. And so now you think that you have to put more judges in there. How are you responding to all these?
I think that, first of all, it is important for us to make the point that undoubtedly the NDC during the campaign promised a reset of the country. And that would mean that every sector that we consider that was unjust needed to be put on a just footing. But that is not the same way as interfering with the judicial processes of our country in a way intended to skew it in favor of the National Democratic Congress or any other political party. If you look at the appointments so far or nominations made by His Excellency President Mahama, go and look at the caliber of judges that have been appointed. Under the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, these are senior judges on the Court of Appeal bench who were sidestepped, appointed their genius to the Supreme Court. It is only fair that when you have an opportunity to ensure that judicial independence and cohesion, especially when it comes to that sensitive arm of government, that you do everything within your power to give it that semblance of justice. And so what President Mahama has done, they should mention any of the judges who is a member of the National Democratic Congress or has ever associated in any way with the National Democratic Congress. None. These are reputable men and individuals. Some of them were even appointed by His Excellency President John Kufuor to the Court of Appeals bench. So President Mahama is only doing the needful by ensuring that those who have sat on the bench for years, gathered experience, become useful to us, especially when it comes to the Supreme Court level. What the hell is wrong with that? Excuse my language.
No, you see.
But you see, again, sweetie, I can understand the discomfort of the New Patriotic Party. For them, any action they take has partisan motives. And so if the NDC is engaged in certain actions intended to put our country back on track, they can be forgiven to think that we are behaving like them or we are thinking like them. Because when they look at us, especially with actions that we are taking, they see themselves in us. But we are not like them. There's a huge difference when it comes to us and the NPP. They appointed Justice Gao to the Supreme Court. We all know that Justice Gao, even before his appointment, was a parliamentary candidate on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. Look at the speed that Nana Addo used to elevate him to the Supreme Court. Have you seen President Mahama or President Mills even attempt that? President Mills of blessed memory. So We know the sanctity of that institution. We respect that sanctity. And we would not engage in acts to undermine it.
While you're respecting the sanctity, let me give you another angle to the conversation. While you're respecting the sanctity of this, arm of government, the judiciary, you're doing all you can to preserve the integrity of it. He's saying that the rhetoric of political actors, NDC party officials, saying things, and you can do the same analysis with the removal of the Chief Justice. While we are following legal procedures, although you're just saying now that it's unconstitutional, it is a rhetoric of partisan people saying that, yes, we are happy she's been removed and all that. That's what's giving it that political cloth. So if the NDC people are saying that we want to balance the judiciary by putting in members, in a way, balancing the number of people they think are, judges that they think are affiliated to the NPP, that gives it a political coloring, does it not?
It does not necessarily give it a political color. You see, first of all, you need to understand that even if you belong to a political party, you are first of a citizen of the Republic of Ghana, and you are entitled to your opinions on matters. And so those people are forgiven to express their opinions and their desires when it comes to the legal architecture of our country. But it does not mean that His Excellency President Mahama will do as they have indicated. We must make that distinction.
Okay.
People are free. In any case, even before we came into office, about 3 surveys indicated that there was something fundamentally wrong with our judiciary and needed reform. We did not say it. It was not the National Democratic Congress that sponsored these surveys. An all-time low in confidence as far as our judiciary is concerned. So any president who is concerned about the future of our democracy and the architecture of our justice system, it would be in the interest of such a president to be concerned about these perceptions and work with the judiciary to help at least check it or curb it.
Okay.
And that is what we are doing. But you see, it is important for me to make this point. You see, my brother made reference to Article 296, the exercise of discretionary power, and on the basis on which he has proceeded to say that operationalization of Article 146 is unconstitutional. This is strange. You see, when you look at Article 146, it outlines a certain procedure for the president to take. There are debates as to whether even in the establishment of the prima facie case, what the power vested in the president and that of the Council of State constitute an exercise of discretionary power. So you cannot pick and choose elements of implementation of Article 146 that you think in your reasoning requires a regulation and proceed to say the entire Article 146 requires it. When there is no even consensus as to whether indeed the decision of the president in consultation with the Council of State in the establishment of the prima facie case constitutes a discretionary power. I differ. I do not think that it constitutes an exercise of discretionary power.
I will come back to you in minutes to give me your final thoughts on this matter because we have to move to Washington.
Yes, and he said so many.
No, but you, I'm actually timing you. But you see,
today you have
like I said, I'll come back
under 2 minutes.
I'll come back, make it 1 minute, and then you don't get any more say on this.
You see, again, when it comes to the processes, Madam, what's her name? Tokono, it's been taken through. I made the point from the onset that I am for anybody who feels that her rights are violated, and for that matter, there's the need for us to activate the legal processes. And I stated that I think that we are belaboring this point. What she has done is that she has filed an application at the apex court of the land. We must allow the processes to continue. The government, at the end of the day, is not focused on the removal processes of Madame Tokono. We have many other issues to deal with as a republic. Okay. We are still struggling to revive the economy that they left us. We have made promises to the Ghanaian people.
Are you struggling?
Of course, we are challenges. We are having challenges because the economy was battered. Last President Mahama indicated a crime scene. So we are struggling to get grips of it. Because we are moderate in our utterances. Okay. But we are convinced that we will be able to do so.
Okay, so that's 1 minute. You have 10 seconds. Wrap it up.
There are other many pertinent issues that occupy the attention of the government. We have activated Article 146. Article 146 is in motion. If my brother feels that without a regulation, Article 146 cannot be operationalized, the laws of this country allow him to take advantage of the courts and challenge sin.
Right.
It is not to come and sit on a radio or TV station and pontificate over sin.
So,
let us engage in the business of building the country.
It's rule of law. So if we have any issues, let rule of law prevail.
Don't worry. When you are in power, you see so many things. When you are in power, I mean, you fail to see the other side. But I would want us to look at things from a progressive.
Your rebuttal is in 1 minute, so that we move to Washington.
From a progressive standpoint. Firstly, there is no law that says that when there's a vacancy at the Supreme Court, you must appoint the senior judges of the Court of Appeal.
Is that in a way justifying the judges who were overstepped, like he's saying?
So, to the extent that there's nothing like that, you can't say a judge was overstepped. If there was a law, even if there was a convention, then you can say they were overstepped. But to the extent that there's nothing, you can't even use the word overstepped. It's so misconceived. 2, when President Mahama was president the first term, when there was a vacancy, he appointed Justice Puaman straight from practice to the Supreme Court. Justice Puaman, somebody I respect a lot. I'm a fan of, Justice Puaman. I respect him. I respect his legal brain. Apart from the fact that he was appointed straight from legal practice, was also the General Secretary of the PNC. Do you know Justice Bodi? Justice Bodi was a 3-term NDC parliamentary candidate for Obuasi East. But now he's a judge. And so when Nanado appointed Justice Gaiu, it wasn't the first time a parliamentary candidate was being appointed to the bench. It wasn't the first time a party, a senior member of a
politically exposed,
was being appointed to the bench.
Yeah.
And so all those arguments are flawed. I think that we need a serious reform as regards the mode of appointment of our judges. I agree with him.
Okay, all right.
To ensure competence, to ensure proper independence of our judges. I appreciate
I thought we had more time, but we don't. So I'm just going to say this. I know from observing how political scandals unfold in this country that it always begins with denial. And so the action that the foreign minister has taken by shutting down the entire embassy on the Washington issue, I want to get your take on the matter in 1 minute and then we pop off. I'm hearing arguments saying that it's an infantile approach, that diplomacy it's a subtlety that, you don't just go out and shut down an entire embassy. What is your position on the matter in 1 minute and then I'll come back to you?
It was a clear case of poor judgment. An embassy provides different services. If one person in there has done something, has misconducted himself, or some few people have misconducted themselves, that can never be a basis for you to say you are shutting down an embassy. It's just like you saying that, some journalists at multimedia have misconducted themselves, so you are shutting down multimedia. That is not a proper approach. I expect that Honorable Kujeto Ablakwa, having spent some time in Parliament, would have, very respectfully gained the necessary experience to handle some of these things. But it looks like, that is not the case.
But the way they rationalize it, Naneje, is that if you don't shut it down, you give people the opportunity to either evade arrest or hide evidence and all that. Which happens?
How? The consular section, you have a problem with the consular section, which is just one of the many sections of the embassy.
Does this not look like an organized crime to you?
Organized crime?
Yeah. A new account, a different account set up to collect monies from people who are applying for visas.
I don't see any basis to arrive at that conclusion.
Okay.
I don't see any basis. And you see, he seems to be social media trigger happy. Quickly coming to social media to announce to the world. Do you think things don't happen at the American Embassy in Ghana? Do you think that things don't happen at the British High Commission? Do you know visa scandals that have happened at the British High Commission? I'm sure you've heard some in the past. But they are managed.
While you're condemning the approach, is there anything that you want to commend? Any thumbs up for how they've handled this? How they've actually seen that something like this is happening and taking quick action?
I suppose you want me to do an equalization
Not necessarily. I have to go. Yeah.
necessarily have to find something good just so you say I'm objective.
I'm asking if you found anything good
I'm saying
in
that
how they...
you want me to necessarily find something good.
If there's nothing good, just say there's nothing good.
No, I'm not going to say that. But I don't see where that is coming from.
Okay.
Very respectfully.
Because this is something that concerns the entire country. I have to go. My producer is
wants to please somebody at all costs.
No, I don't want to please anyone. I'm sorry, I don't want to please anyone at all.
It looks like you want to please somebody at all costs.
Yes.
Share your thoughts with me quickly and let's go.
Briefly, it is strange and interesting listening to my brother, especially the very proponents of digital technology, now having a problem with the use of social media as an important platform. As an important platform of reaching out to the good people of this country. Remember that unlike them, we promised a transparent government, and we would not allow them to thwart that effort by simply seeking to run down social media platforms that we can use to reach the good people of this country, to keep them posted at every step of the way when it comes to the governance of their republic. And we are committed to that. As for the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, I heard my brother say that consular services provide so many other services. Undoubtedly true. But if you have a system where your IT system has been compromised, and we all know that in countries like the United States of America, everything hinges on that. So other departments may not have been directly linked to the scandal. But in truth, many of their offices were compromised.
Right.
It will only take a progressive leader to appreciate this, especially in the age of technology, and proceed to take measures to curb it. Okay. Mind you, this is not the first time embassies are being closed. Even the United States of America announced closure of embassies in China. And China said,
those who join the conversation,
so this is not strange.
I'm sorry, we have to go.
Then we have to close it to...
Please mute his microphone for me. He's a lawyer and member of parliament for Machia South. Hamza, I'm closing the show. Hamza Sweeney is lawyer and member of the NDC Communications Directorate. And we've discussed a number of matters here, and that's how we're wrapping up for this segment. But if you are looking for, you are muted, gentlemen, no one can hear you. If you are looking for a home in a prime location, Nesta's Home has got you covered. Our properties in Tumu Community 26, just behind the Palace Mall, offer a serene atmosphere, easy access to transportation routes, and social amenities. Off-plan prices start at $35,000 US. The city is doing well, so get your money ready and call them today. 053-101-4440 or 053-101-4447. You can also visit the website at www.nestas.com.gh. But let me quickly tell you about Syntex Tank before I pop up. Now, you know that the secret to real water storage is simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex Tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. So whether rain or shine, Syntex Tank has got your back. So go outside and check your tank. And if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join Syntex Tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Here's the number to call. 0244-335-168 to buy one or find one of 400 agents nationwide. Also, you can shop online at www.syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank, a strong, a tough. More action coming your way on the AM show. I'll be right back. The AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost with flexible payment option. And now let's talk about the National Banking and Ethics Challenge. In the studio with me this morning is Doris Ahiati. She's a fellow chartered banker, financial consultant, and executive coach. We also have Robert Jato. He's CEO, Chartered Institute of Bankers, Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
I must tell our audience that I've learned a lot off camera, but now let's get the conversation going so they can understand what we're doing here. And for the benefit of those who are not familiar with the Chartered Institute of Bankers, just introduce us to what you do, your core mandate, and then we can follow through with the rest of the conversation. So.
Thank you very much. And at Chartered Institute of Bankers, we exist to solve Africa's human capital needs. with trusted professionals. We have a mandate under the Chartered Institute of Bankers Act 2019, Act 991, to promote the study of banking, but also regulate the practice of the banking profession. For us, that means developing trusted professionals for the financial service sector, putting ethics, sustainability, and professionalism on the agenda of banks and bankers, and certainly being the leadership engine for our country. You know, banks require capital, and we know minimum capital, regulatory capital, but the human capital is crucially important,
Sure.
and that's what we focus on as Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana.
If I was to join you now, I know where I would go. Human resources. Doris, so, I mean, what are some of the, before we get into the challenge proper, what are some of the benefits of joining the professional body if you're a banker?
Thank you very much. I think that's an interesting question to ask. As a professional who has been providing service to different institutions, usually before they finalize the engagement for you to provide the service, they want to check your credibility. They want to check if they can trust you. They want to check if you are competent enough to deliver. And being able to point to an institution where you belong to gives them that comfort, because what the institution does, beyond the initial charter qualification, will be continuous professional development, CPDs, to ensure that you don't get rusty, that you are abreast with evolving times and trends and new concepts that enable you to deliver what is valuable to the market. Then I also value the networking that happens amongst us as professionals. That's something that I don't downplay at all. And then the opportunities for further growth. Sometimes we contribute and serve the institute. And through these opportunities and avenues, we develop our leadership skills, and we also upgrade what we are able to contribute to the society.
You know what they say, your net worth is based on your networks.
Yes.
So if you are a banker, it's time for you to join the Chartered Institute of Bankers right now. So let's talk about the National Banking and Ethics Challenge. How did this brilliant initiative, how was it birthed, Mr. Jato?
All right, so thank you, Siti. So, you know, there's quite a number of things that have happened in our country in recent times, whether you're looking at it from the banking sector reforms, or the DDEP, or you look at Bank of Ghana fraud reports. And you see that there is the need for us to continue to build resilience and public trust in financial services. As an institute, we go to a number of secondary schools, and last year, in the last 2 years, we've done a number of schools in Ashanti region, in Volta region, and we discovered something very strange. Our younger brothers and sisters in those schools are betting, and they see betting as an investment. Well, betting may give you a source of income, but from a banker's perspective, betting is not an investment. And if you look at our mandate is to promote banking education, and so the responsibility falls to us to actually bring that knowledge. And we thought it would be crucially important to get people in the universities reading banking and finance to be champions and advocates of financial literacy, digital literacy, ethical literacy. And for us, the business of banking really is based on the business of trust. Trust is the currency in banking. Cash is the raw material that we use. And that trust comes from character, which is ethics, doing the right thing when no one is watching, but also competence, ability to do the work. But even more importantly, from a regulatory point of view, playing within the rules, which is why banking is highly regulated. And for us, putting the spotlight on ethical literacy, but also national banking education to inspire public trust, to build resilience in the financial system, is what has inspired this important initiative.
So what I hear is you want to reorient young people in terms of their mentality and approach to the wrong, what they're calling investment, which really is gambling. It's not investment.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned university, so they're the target participants. Let me throw that question to Doris.
Thank you very much. Beyond shaping the young ones to educate them, I think it's also important to highlight the fact that we are already trying to shape their mindset, to build in them those ethical standards, the ethical literacy that is required to support the confidence that we need in the financial system. So that's something important. Our target audience goes beyond the university students. In the challenge, we have universities participating. We have Wisconsin, we have Pentecost University, we have Academic City, we have UPSA, and we also have University of Ghana.
I was waiting for that. I was going to ask why it's only private schools, but go ahead, yeah.
So, and University of Ghana Business School is my alma mater as well. So they will all be there. But they are not the only focus for this engagement. Remember that we said we are using this challenge to rebuild, contribute to rebuilding confidence in the financial system, to elevate trust. And so the everyday person who is transacting with one bank or the other is also our audience. So on the stage, you may see the students, but there is so much learning, so much awareness, because our objectives include that we are advancing financial literacy through these challenges, and that's going to everyone that uses a bank account in the country. And then we are also looking at creating awareness around the ethical literacy. We also see that today many people are using one form of technology or the other, digital finance or fintech. And so again, we are promoting awareness through the products, the options, the risks, and how you can protect yourself while in the digital space with this. Ultimately, we are aiming that through the challenge, we achieve that sustainability in the service which we deliver, a service that indeed touches every home and every individual.
So target participants, university students, but target audience, everyone really who interacts with a bank one way or the other. And what is the mechanism of the competition? I know something is happening tomorrow. We'll get to that. But what's the format of the competition? What are they doing when they're up there? Can you tease us a bit so that we can actually make an appointment to watch you?
Doris can handle that.
Doris, you want to tell us? What does it look like?
So growing up, I spent quite a bit of time watching Professor Ramade as a quiz mistress. I have the privilege to be the quiz mistress tomorrow.
You don't say.
Yes. And so imagine something like that. We have so many rounds cutting across the various themes that we are addressing, which we've highlighted earlier on. And so we'll have the universities respond to questions that are presented to them, and then they will earn points. And at the end of each round, we'll share the progress or an update on where each participant is. And at the end of the day, they will be awarded. It's supposed to be fun, engaging. The students will be learning and they'll be sharing their learning. And then our audience will also be going away with that learning and enhancement in their confidence and trust in the financial system.
And this is the maiden edition, Mr. Jato, you were saying. So aside learning from the students, networking, what is that X factor that will really make us want to tune in tomorrow and follow the competition?
Well, definitely the education is key. Remember, that's our mandate. And I think we all interact with banks in different ways. And if you go to your bank, you want to know what's happening behind the scenes, right?
Absolutely.
So if you look at the design of the questions, it will be very much what happens at the front end, but also what happens behind the scenes. What do you need to know? If you're taking a loan, for example, what do you need to know? If you're using your digital platforms, for example, how do you understand and appreciate the basic, of banking? And even more importantly, you may have a son or a daughter who may decide to do banking. You want to really have an informed position as a parent. But to our students and others who would consider the profession, definitely this is an opportunity to understand what bankers do and what banks do as well. And for us, it's a real opportunity for us to educate the general public, but also inspire confidence and strengthen the resilience in the financial system. And I think that's a collective responsibility of all of us, given the importance of the financial sector in the economic development of our country.
Thank you for that. We're building trust and resilience one way or the other, and strengthening all our systems. So, I mean, you came here with a message, and I want you to look into your camera and tell us what that message is, Doris. I mean, ask our audience to make an appointment with you tomorrow and view, or come in person, whichever way. It's your time now.
Thank you very much. So this is a special invitation I'm throwing out on behalf of the Chartered Institute of Bankers and the Fraternity of Chartered Bankers in Ghana. on behalf of our CEO, who should be delivering this invitation. And I want to say you don't want to miss the opportunity to learn and understand, gain new insights about what really goes on in the banking and the financial system. The awareness and the learning that you will gain by either being in person or following the show online is going to equip and empower you to make decisions that will positively impact your finances, either as a customer of the bank or as a professional or a parent who may be mentoring people that find themselves in the banking industry. Together, we have a joint responsibility to restore ethics and professionalism in banking and finance.
Doris, I feel like if I gave you 10 minutes, you still have so much to tell us. But I want to give the CEO the opportunity to add a word or two to that. Right. Mr. Jato.
So again, this for us is really exciting. It's part of our mandate. And at Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana, we run flagship programs beyond the competition. We have the Chartered Banker qualification, but we also have the Chartered Banker for Executive Leadership program. We have a certification in ESG, and in collaboration with Bank of Ghana, we've developed ethics certification for the entire industry, which is part of the fit and proper assessment of Bank of Ghana if you're working in the industry. There are other programs coming up like Digital Academy. We are launching a program for what we call branch CEO certification. So there's quite a number of things that you can pursue at Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana. We want to throw the challenge to all our stakeholders to support this initiative, but also support the institute, sponsor some of the initiatives that are coming up, and let's make our country stronger and better.
All right. So tomorrow at the Chartered Institute of Bankers Auditorium at 9 a.m. sharp, there you have it. The details are on your screens right now. We have the National Banking and Ethics Challenge, and you don't want to miss it. Mr. Jato, where is the CIB Ghana Auditorium? Which part of town is it?
So it's at the Trinity Avenue, East Legon, Violation.
All right. I guess once you put that in your Google map, it'll bring you there straight. So don't miss it. Thank you so much, Doris Ahiati. She's a fellow chartered banker and financial consultant and also an executive coach. And then we had the CEO, Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana, Robert Jato. Thank you all so much for coming, and I wish you the very best tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
now,
you so
before we go, you do want to get ready for the 7th Ghana Football Awards. Join us on June 14th at the Palms Convention Center for a night of excitement, glamour, and celebration of Ghana's finest football stars. Let's unite the nation once again through football. Ghana Football Awards is a Football Impact Africa initiative powered by Activate 360 and proudly supported by the Multimedia Group and AE Mediacom. Ghana Football Awards, celebrating the stars of our passion. And let me quickly tell you about JIT, because if you're ready to dream, dare, and deliver in the world of IT, then look no further than Jackson Institute of Technology. It is the only NIIT authorized training center in Ghana. At JIT, we provide world-class IT training for individuals and corporate organizations, equipping you with industry-relevant skills in software development, cybersecurity, networking, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, digital marketing, and so many more. Plus, we offer globally recognized certifications, practical job-ready training, and flexible hybrid learning, which allows you to either study online or on-site. Plus, our expert instructors ensure hands-on learning experiences that prepare you for success in today's digital world. And we are conveniently located on the Ring Road near Circle in the heart of Accra's Central Business District. The place is cleaned up a lot these days, so you can go there and visit them for yourself. And in Kumasi, you can find them at Jackson Educational Complex headquarters at Ayediase near KNUST. JIT provides easy access for students and corporate clients, and our state-of-the-art auditorium is also available for corporate events, seminars, and training centers. Give us a call now or send us a WhatsApp message on these numbers: 0596 996 037 or 0596 996 038 or 0552 714635, or visit our website at www.jit.edu.gh. JIT, your gateway to a thriving career. When we return, we'll be picking your calls because I know that you have something to say. We'll be right back. Live from Kokomemle, this is the AM show on Joy News, and it's time for you to have your say. Call us 0302-211-691. 0302-211-691. We've discussed a number of things this morning, from the news review segment to our big stories, the hospitalization of Chairman Wontumi on the back of that intense interrogation from Yoko, arguments pouring in for minority and majority, and we've discussed the Chief Justice's hearing going on right now, and all the fallout from there. Also, the Speaker of Parliament forwarding the 7 nominees from President Mahama to the Supreme Court, to the Appointment Committee, in accordance with the Constitution. Also, that has arguments pouring in from both minority and majority. What's on your mind in all these? Let's start with our first caller. Hamza, good morning, you're live. Tell me, what's happening? Do I have Hamza online with me?
Yes, good morning, sweetie.
Good morning, Hamza. What's on your mind?
Yeah, thank you for the good work you are doing for Mother Ghana. My greetings to you and Benjamin. My first question is, please, we saw in the video yesterday that Latif, your own Latif, was assaulted by NPP supporters. What formal complaints have you made? That is my first question. I would like, through you, ask the IGP. We saw in the African market assaulting officer. How is that? Through your medium, please, I want to ask this question. Okay, now,
Hamza, your line is not clear. So how about you drop the call and try and get us back, okay? But we had the first 2 points you made about Latif's abuse and what formal complaints have been made. We'll take that and we'll look into it. But feel free to call us 0302. I think we have time for just 2 more callers before we pop off. 1 more caller, 0302-211-691. This will not be the first time Latif Idrisu is going through some sort of assault. Let's speak to Abdul Salam now. Abdul, you're live on the AM show. What's on your mind?
Very well. Good morning, my sister. Yes. What I'm going to say is about the opposition party. If it is something that is good from the past, now the president, when they are not in power, is very bad, which is very, very, very bad to our democracy. And they should advise themselves. They know the truth. Thank you. Bye.
Well, thank you so much. I think that's all that time will allow us for this morning. Of course, this is the AM show. I am Sweetie Abochi, and I did this with Benjamin Akakpo. Realized that he disappeared. He had to attend to some urgent matters. And we're back on your screens tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. like we always do. But for now, Joy News Desk is up next. Have a blessed day.